Talk about whiskey. What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of the 10 Horse Money YouTube channel, Tuesday Night Live. I feel like Tony Colombo when I start with the show like that. You know, Tony Colombo. Hey, welcome to the. He's got that radio voice of Bluff City Outdoor Show.
Yes, he does.
Yeah,
we have 6 shopping days
till Christmas.
Wow, I'm pretty much done.
Well, I guess 5 shopping days.
Yeah,
because you're SOL.
Can't shop on Christmas.
Yeah, you're not shopping. That's
Well,
like
Walgreens.
Or gas station.
Yeah, if you're planning on getting something through the mail, it's too late. I think the last day to order was like the 16th or something, 17th, 18th, but it's coming in.
Gas station's perfect for my father-in-law. He's right there, Berryville, right?
Like
I'm getting some old Milwaukee's Best Light and
beef jerky.
Not old Milwaukee's Beef. No, and Scratchers. He's happy as a lark.
Oh yeah, Scratchers are always fun, man. You never know.
Yeah, why not? Roll the dice, move your mice. Right?
Yeah, could be the best gift.
I don't play the lottery much, but because I
don't either, man. I eat at this gas station every day. It's on my route.
That's
you would not believe the amount of people that come. I didn't catch that, but you not believe the amount of people that come in there and just buy lottery tickets. It's unbelievable.
Stand there and scratch them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And you're not talking.
You said we can talk
$50 or $60. It's $500, $600, $700 that these folks spend daily on lottery.
Yeah, there's like a $25 scratch off ticket.
There's a $50 ticket.
Is there? Okay,
a $50 ticket.
Yeah, I mean
that's nuts. So speaking of gambling, I was thinking about. I watch a lot of NFL football, right? And I don't know if you do, Jonathan. I know Gabe watches a little bit. And I have for years, football coach through the middle school ranks and all that. So I love watching football, no matter who's playing. And been a lot of funny calls going on these days. It's hard to tell what a penalty is. And my theory is see how you guys can follow me. I'm old enough to remember when sportscasters got fired for mentioning the fact that or pregame people for mentioning that there was a point spread on the game. And now we've got the pregame people that's brought to you by DraftKings giving you their 3-game parlays or their over and under bets and all this shit. So my theory is when they look into that replay thing, there's a dude giving a thumbs up or a thumbs down that's might have a Italian horn around his neck and look like he works for the mob. That's what I think's going on.
So you're saying you're a conspiracy theorist?
I am. Well, I'm looking for new ones because all my other ones have came true. So, but yeah,
well, then
if you don't watch it enough, you don't realize it. Maybe, but isn't that weird though? Just 20 years ago, they got Jimmy the Greek got fired for mentioning there was a spread on the game, and now it's like the whole damn pregame show is brought to you by DraftKings. It's every other commercial at break.
Yeah, I don't watch a ton of football, but just even like last time we were together at Greg's and we watched a little bit of that football, there was like 2 or 3 plays for sure that seemed like they were a little fishy, you know. And that was just in a little short, however long that was that we watched.
They seem to happen around the end zone towards the ends of games too a lot.
Yeah. There's some shenanigans that goes on, man. I mean,
I don't know. They get a lot of them right during the middle of the game. That's what
they do.
You know, that's what I'm saying. But I have a specific example. I can't remember the 2 teams, but it was down. The underdog was about to take the lead. No, the underdog was on defense. The other team was about to come back and catch him. So it was in the end zone, and the cornerback or the safety, I don't remember which, was covering the receiver right on him, running, had his back to the play. The quarterback threw the ball and hit the cornerback in the back of the helmet. He never physically touched the receiver, and they called pass interference on him. They got the ball in the 1 and they scored because they said he never turned to make a play on the ball. Well, why isn't it the quarterback's job to throw it high enough where the receiver can catch it, not hit the guy in the back? To me, that's just good coverage. So, like, what exactly is a penalty? I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to play defense.
It's tricky, man. It's
getting hard for me to watch. So we have to just go straight to bass fishing. Screw all that.
Yeah, there's some people on here that I actually had like text with today. It's cool. It's cool to see everybody.
Have anybody looked? Do they allow? Is there a book on bass fishing? I know you can play fantasy. Can you actually bet hard cold hard cash on bass fishing?
Not yet, but they talk. I know Jeffries was always talking about it on Bass Talk Live, and it could happen. I mean, for sure, like the Classic, for sure, you could definitely have some. You could have a line on the Classic. I mean, obviously the winner, the winning weight. I mean, you know how it is, man. You can break that stuff down.
Will I break something? Yeah.
Yeah. How many motors will be blown on the first day, or how many people will show up late? Is it 1 minute late, 2 minute late? You can.
Yeah. Who'll get DQ'd or something? Yeah.
Well, if you want to start the book on that, Mike, I mean.
No, I don't have the bankroll for that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be more up Boyd's alley.
No doubt.
He would change the rules in his favor every single time.
We are going to talk about that here in a little bit once we get going.
Yeah, we'll change the rules, and conflict of interest when you're sponsoring guys that are on your trail.
Look at there, Dale Colvin showed up. Yeah,
nice.
Bull Shoals Fishing Report. Good to see you.
He's actually logged under his personal name. I mean, he must be on break right now.
Yeah, nice. I thought he was night fishing this time of year. That's when the big walleyes bite late at night at Bull Shoals in like 100 foot of water.
The walleyes?
Yeah, 100 foot of water, a jig head and a leech, 6-pound test. Nobody's out there. You get the whole lake to yourself, man. We got everybody in here. It's cool. It's good to see everybody. We're going to be doing. So here's how it's going to go, guys. We got 3 giveaways tonight, and maybe 4. Each giveaway is going to be 20 jigs. Isaac's going to pick the jig colors and the sizes and the different models and stuff. So we'll do a giveaway here. I don't know how long, about 20 minutes or so. We'll just bust out a giveaway. And but for now, man, we're just going to dive into some just general fishing talk. If you guys got any questions, it's an open forum. We talk about whatever. Obviously, we start talking about football and lottery tickets right off the bat, but we can go into anything. I got a few things written down.
What's Jeffrey say? Bass fishing and anything else we want to talk about?
Yeah.
Whiskey, guns, guitars.
So just to start the show out, we did pose a question on what's everybody's favorite jig color and trailer, and I know what yours is, Mike.
Peanut butter and smoke with a green pumpkin purple trailer.
Yeah, man.
It matches a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Now I will go black and blue if it's muddy, and if I'm swimming it, I will go some kind of shad color sometimes if you're going to be swimming it. But for the most part, that's the only color you need. What was Dion saying at the Warrior William? Doesn't matter what color as long as it's green pumpkin.
Yeah. You can't really go wrong.
See, I grew up with it. It didn't matter what color it was as long as it was black and blue.
That's the same. But you grew up fishing dirty water, right?
You catch them in clean, you catch them in dirty. I mean,
yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean,
I remember when I got to college fishing and started fishing with like guys outside of the local club and my dad, and we would go to like Egypt, which is fairly clear, right? And I'd be flipping a black and blue jig, and everybody's like, "Why are you throwing that? That doesn't look like anything." I'm like, "Then why am I catching fish on it?" Like, yeah. I just have
sometimes it not looking like anything means it stands out, right?
Well, the problem was I got in my head, and then I started throwing green pumpkin and got away from black and blue, and wasn't catching crap on it because I had no confidence in it. So,
well, that's it. That's it right there. I mean, that's 100%.
You immediately named off your jig color, not even a thought in your head, like what it was. It was just bada bing.
If I had to have one for life, that's what it would be. Now I use other ones.
Absolutely.
I like brown and purple, but yeah, if you had to narrow it down to one, that's the question, right? I mean, that's the way I'd rather it be phrased. Just if you only have one, what would it be? Because I do use others. It's not like that's all I use, but if you force me to only have one for the rest of my life, that's what it would be.
Yeah, I know when we fish together, if you've got 2 jigs tied on, one of them is going to be that smoke, that peanut butter smoke.
Usually there might be 3 that are the exact same color. They're just 3 different sizes.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. Stephanie's never caught one on a black and blue. I think you're going to in 2024, Stephanie.
Yes, Stephanie, just throw that dude.
I tell you what, go to Cedar in like March, April, and flip it in the shallowest, dirtiest, nastiest water you can find and hang on. I promise.
Amy says green pumpkin with the zoom chunk. That's something.
Good choice.
Oh, what's yours? We asked Mike, what's yours?
Man, a color that I've really got a lot of confidence in the last year or so has been a smashed pumpkin color by Cumberland Pro. Yeah, it's
Does that got orange in it?
I think it does have a little bit of orange. It's got some green pumpkin, some black in it. It's just real. It's one of those jig colors that could be a crawfish or it could be a bluegill.
Kind of like Halloween threw up.
A little bit, yeah, in a nice, pretty bowl.
Yeah.
But it's a
Well, I mean, the peanut butter smoke one does too, right? It's got black strands in there. It's got the barbed brown and black. So I mean, it's I think all jigs should have a little black in them. You know.
yeah. I tell you one color that's overlooked is actually just straight up black jig.
Yeah,
that's something I learned from Ron. Ron throws a
one.
black jig a lot.
Really?
And I've seen him catch a lot of fish on a black jig, especially in cold water. He swears by it in cold water. And
I pretty much only throw a black buzzbait.
Yeah, I think it just creates that silhouette on the bottom, that darker color. They don't, I think sometimes we give fish a little bit too much credit. I was thinking about if you take, like right now, the water's cold, right? And it's getting colder. So traditionally we get away from our swimming chunks, like the rage crawls, like the crawl chunk by Yum, whatever brand it is, but right. Something that's got the little flippers on it.
The Paca, yeah.
Yeah, and then we go to like an actual chunk or just a straight crawl that just looks like a crawl, like the
like a beaver
crawl from Zoom.
Or like
Crock Gator's got one.
Right. Hardly does anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Hawgz Custom Bait has a ledge crawl, like a little small one. But see, when you got that little crawl, that's like a do nothing crawl, to me, you're taking away the possibility of maybe it being a bluegill because it's so crawl looking. But then I'm thinking about it as I was thinking about it today. I'm like, I'm probably giving the fish too much credit. I think they're down. A lot of times I think it's just it's something down there moving. It looks right. It doesn't throw off any negative cues, and they're hungry and they go down there and they grab it.
It's an easy meal, right?
It's an easy meal. It's moving slow. It looks about right, and
they're opportunists, right?
They're opportunists. Yeah,
especially in the cold water. If something gets close to them, they're like, I don't have to move far to eat this. I think I'll just eat it.
Look at Scotty Edwards going old school, redhead, brown, and orange with a 1-on-1 pork frog.
Yeah, it is old school.
Uncle Ron,
but it still works like a champ.
It does. That pork works.
Well, how many lures from yesteryear that we have forgot about because of the new hotness that's out that still work every day in and day out?
I've got an entire rack full of old stuff from the 80s.
Yeah,
and I should probably just swap that into my boat at some point and just start throwing all that again.
You should have like an old school like throwback day. You just
that'd be fun.
You empty the boat out and then put all the stuff from the 80s in there.
Right.
I bet you
only top water's a jitterbug, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Luke, a rage crawl has been one of my 3 favorite.
I'll say you throw a lot of rage crawl.
I throw a rage crawl a lot, especially on if I want a bigger profile. If I'm throwing like a 1/2 ounce jig or bigger out deep, I'm typically
in the summertime I'll put that rage lobster on there, that great big one.
Yeah, that's a really big trailer.
Do you just like the way it slows the fall down, or do you just like the movement and the water displacement?
I like the water displacement, like that big profile, and I use it on a swim jig too to really float it up high. But if I'm throwing something out deep and like on a big football jig or something, I like that rage crawl. Now, if I go finesse, I like the speed crawl by Zoom a lot. They also make a baby rage crawl that I've been using on that Cumberland Pro little runt finesse jig, and I like that little sucker too. Or the little menace, the little baby rage menace has been a good one. But
you can't go wrong with Strike King. They've got a lot of good products. They really do.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot to offer,
especially in their soft plastic lines.
So you guys either one of you guys ever get wild with your jig color trailers and not match your trailer or match?
Yeah, occasionally. Sometimes I'll go when you're going black and blue. I'll go just black jig, blue trailer.
Yeah,
I go like a flipping blue.
Yeah, like an electric blue or something like that. Real bright blue.
I'll do a black and blue with a green pumpkin trailer quite a bit.
That's a good combo.
It's a good contrast. It seems to me like it kind of covers all your bases.
You got to think like when that jig's in when you got a couple jigs in here, like that's what we see, right? Like it's out of the package. It's wet. It's got all the skirt material. That's what we see. But what you don't realize is that's what a fish sees. right? Like,
Well, a little bit of it floats up sometimes, I think.
yeah,
right?
I mean, a lot of the skirt materials laying on the bottom. You ever put a jig in a clear water or swimming pool? A lot of the skirt material is just laying there on the bottom. They don't see a lot of that.
Flowers over, kind of.
Yeah.
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 Well, what about jig modifications, Mike? Do you do any?
I trim the skirt to the base of the hook almost always on all jigs, no matter what time of year. I don't like that skirt infringing on the action of the trailer, and I want the skirt right at the edge of the hook. I like, as you know, I like to color my trailer a little bit, chartreuse on the tips, a little red on the head of it, or right at the hook. But I've been using that jewel jig and those Cumberland Pro jigs. They don't really need much other than a skirt trim. They're pretty dang good right out of the box. I mean,
yeah. So this is like something that I'll do. I'll show you guys in a little bit the jigs that we're going to be giving away. There's 5 different styles of jigs that are going to be. But so this is the Cumberland Pro Lures pig jig, but I've really trimmed that skirt down.
Yeah, that's what I do. That looks exactly how I do.
Yeah,
maybe I got it from watching you.
Somewhere around the bin is where I'm typically going to trim it. So I'm trying to find one I didn't bring one that's untrimmed, but you can see like this swim jig. So here's the bend right here. The skirt's hanging way down there, so obviously what we did on that, I don't like that. Trim it up right there. It gives it, and you can do the same thing if you're wanting to, like this Procaster. The front of this jig, when it comes out of the package, has a longer skirt material, but you can gather just the front part of that skirt and fold it down and just give it like this finesse cut. That gives it that little, gives it a little smaller package. A lot of times I really like this in the cold water. It seems like it gets more bites. But that's
I definitely like less skirt in the colder water for sure.
Yeah, and you can pull some skirt material out and really get finessey.
Yeah.
Isn't that like the Dirk's jig?
Yeah.
Like Dirk's jig's got
15 strands or something. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's got barely any.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. And
so do you like a traditional cut or a finesse cut? Or it just depends on the day?
Pretty much a finesse cut. I fish the finesse football a lot. If I'm fishing deep with a football, like a 3/4 or 1 ounce or something, then I like a traditional skirt then. But a lot of times doing that in the summertime, I like to put like a 10.5-inch shaky head on the back of it instead of trailer. Yeah. Yeah. Excite Baits makes one that floats. So that whole 10.5 inches when it's on the bottom is just sitting there waving. You let it set. So I've had a lot of luck with that. I had one at Kincaid one time that I fought it to the boat. It jumped twice and spit it. And it never even had the hook. It just took it was just holding onto the worm that hard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It basically just pinched the worm off at the hook. It never even had the hook.
Yeah, that's a big package. It's a really big package.
Yeah. But in the summertime, I mean, yeah. It's no different than throwing a 10-inch worm, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. What was that? What do you got that on right there?
It says, do you ever try any translucent or jigs or trailers in clear water? I'd say
I do not.
For me, it would be more like on a swim jig line where I throw just a lighter color, less material, but nothing. I don't ever throw anything translucent that's representing something that's on the bottom, whether it's a bluegill or a crawfish pattern. Because typically, if I'm throwing a jig, I'm throwing it on the bottom. Unless it's a swim jig, we can eliminate that out of the equation. But it's a football jig, it's a structure jig, it's imitating bluegill, brim, crawdad. Now, I'm not saying that a crappie color jig won't work, because I'm sure it will. But if I have my purple and brown jig with a little bit of orange in it, I cover bluegill, I cover crawfish, I cover sunfish, I cover a lot of different species of prey.
I tell you something that I've learned. This has happened to me several times, but 2 times really stand out where it was obvious the difference between green pumpkin and watermelon. You're talking about clear water, and you would think green pumpkin or watermelon would work in clear water, and it does at times, but there are also times where they really prefer one over the other. And I was fishing a BFL. It was 2 years ago, and it was at Table Rock Lake. And it was a day where we got fogged in till I think it was like 2.5 hour fog delay. So, already.
Is that the one where my boat broke down?
I think it was. I think it was. Yeah, it was. I ended up getting third place in the tournament. But so we made a pretty decent run, and I'm throwing a shaky head. I've been having a lot of success on a certain type of bait on a shaky head leading up to that tournament, and I would get a bite every once in a while, but they would kind of drop it, and then I finally did catch one. I was throwing a green pumpkin shaky head worm, and the sun got up, and I kept throwing that. I kept throwing that green pumpkin because I had so much confidence in it. I'd just come off of another good tournament at Kentucky Lake throwing it. And, I just had so much confidence. I'm not going to say I was really forcing it, but my confidence was keeping that color on my line. So after a couple hours of really not getting bites, I started really thinking about it. I'm like, okay, this water visibility is 15 feet. I feel like I need to be getting more bites. And my boater wasn't getting a lot of bites either. I think he had a couple keepers and I had one. So I switched to a watermelon. I just switched to a watermelon red, same exact worm, same exact shaky head and everything. I just put that watermelon worm on there. Long story short, I ended up, getting 5 keepers in the boat, and I finished third in that tournament. But I think that the key difference was going from a green pumpkin to a watermelon, and it's a very slight difference. Yeah, it's a very slight difference. I mean, there is a difference there for sure, but I really think in clear water, maybe making a switch from a really bold green pumpkin jig to something that was more watermelon, or even that smoke purple's got some of that kind of white, kind of translucent white kind of skirt material in it. So you can stay. The thing with green pumpkin is there's a lot of different varieties. They're really like the green pumpkin with the darker watermelons in it. That's more bold, but when you start adding that smoke in there, it kind of starts thinning it out and making it look more translucent. And man, you taking a jig color like that and putting a watermelon crawl on the back of it or something really a little bit more translucent can pay off. Because I mean, there's sometimes when it doesn't matter, but then there's other times where the fish get so dialed in, tuned in to just one different color. I've told this story before, but there was a day on Pyramid where I was throwing a Hawgz Custom Bait 6.5-inch shaky head worm, and it was watermelon. I'm trying to remember if it was watermelon or it was green pumpkin. It was watermelon. This is another watermelon deal. But the water was like 2 foot of visibility, right? So I'm throwing the shaky head, and I catch like a couple 4-pounders in a row, and they tear the worm up. And I'm going and looking in my boat for another pack of watermelon 6 1/4. I can't find them anywhere. So there's a pack of green pumpkin, Hawgz Custom Bait 6 1/4 straight tail finesse worm. So I'm like, that's pretty dang close. The water visibility is like 2 foot. They're not going to know. And I have spot lock on. I'm on this point. I've got a waypoint. I'm making a specific cast to a hard spot on top of this little road bed. I fished for like another 15 minutes. I never got a bite, and I know they're there. I know there's still fish there. So finally, I've decided I'm just gonna have to sit down. I'm gonna have to dig through all my crap, and I'm gonna have to find those worms. So I dumped out a bunch of tubs. Small boats, we don't have the storage capacity as big boats, so it tends to be a mess really quick. But anyway, I find the watermelon worm. I put it on there. I dye the tail just like I had the green pumpkin. And I think the first or second cast, I catch another 4-pounder. And then I ended up catching several more off of that same spot, that same cast. But I was dragging that worm through those fish. I was dragging that green pumpkin worm through those fish. And this is the same company, the same style worm. Nothing had changed for the green pumpkin.
Well, think about it. If you would have went through that spot first with the green pumpkin,
I never would have got a bite.
You never got a bite, and you would have just dismissed it and kept on rolling.
Right. Yep. But having said that, I've also caught them really good in that lake on green pumpkin.
You've
So
kicked
something-
you've kicked my butt on that damn watermelon worm.
candies.
Watermelon candy.
Yeah.
It's
Just weird though. Some days it's a really big deal, and some days it really doesn't matter all that much.
It's really irritating when you're sitting there watching the guy and you just look up there and he's like, he's got a green, and I'm colorblind, so it's just green pumpkin worm. It's green. I got a green worm on, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, what are you throwing different? What you got tipped, you got everything identical, and he's getting bit and you're not, or vice versa. And it's just frustrating. Like, but simple, small changes can make a big difference. And then sometimes it doesn't matter if you throw it out there on a 45-pound piece of rope and black and blue matted jig, and they're going to eat it.
Yeah. Well, you blew my theory, Gabe, when you went to the muddy. I was going to say, I tend to feel like color makes a difference more in clean water than it does dirty water, but then you just blew that theory.
It wasn't dirty.
I still think it does matter more in clear.
Yeah, it wasn't dirty. It was just for that lake. That was like probably it was about the clear end of the spectrum of the water color on that lake. So for that lake, it was clear for that lake.
That's clear for that lake. Then that makes sense.
I don't think we give fish enough credit with their visibility in water.
Yeah, they can see a lot better than what we think.
Like I know we've talked about that at length on the show, but I think that says a lot to what we see versus what they see. I'm not saying that they got 20/20 vision or anything, but they see different than we do. They perceive things a hell of a lot different than we do.
Yeah. I think Menendez was saying if we can see 5 feet in water, a fish can see 25 feet.
Yeah.
He's a biologist,
and they're going to feel it too. They're living there. They're going to feel something. I mean, you close your eyes and if somebody walks by you in the airport, right? You're sitting there and somebody walks by, it. You're in your element. They know
that lateral line does. That lateral line's their forward-facing sonar. So
absolutely, absolutely,
that's right.
That's
how many blind bass have you caught?
A couple.
I mean, yeah, they don't die right away.
I seem to catch more of them. I guess it's just because
what is it?
A blind bass.
A blind bass? Yeah. At least I've saw a lot of blind and one eye bass.
Yeah.
I've caught several.
Yeah, for sure.
I consider myself lucky when I catch one of those. So.
Yeah.
I do fish living
jigs
from time to time.
Yeah,
mostly in this warmer water, but.
I do that on spinnerbait a lot of times in cold water. I'll tie a skirt with a living rubber on it. I think it's got a little bit more action.
Right.
Last time I trimmed the jig,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, last time I trimmed a jig live on a live stream, I got skirt material all inside the keys on my keyboard, and it was kind of
not a good move. The best thing about a nitro bass boat, it's got a trash can to trim your jig over.
Yeah, that is pretty handy.
I said it a million times to almost everybody that ever gets in my boat. Why did it take 50 years to put a freaking trash can in a bass boat?
There's a big floor that's usually the biggest trash can in my boat. So
that was mine beforehand, but the
nitro space between the back deck and the front deck, it's a really good trash can in my boat.
Yeah, I haven't used any tungsten jigs.
And see, I got 2 kids that just absolutely love to get in the boat. So that's their job. When the first thing they do when they get in the boat, it's like clean it up.
Yeah. That's good. That's good thinking. I like tungsten jigs. They're just so dang expensive, and I go through a lot of jigs. So
I was gonna say jigs are one of those things. I started making my own jigs a handful of years ago, just for the simple fact of the cost, right? Like, when the jig that I like throwing got up to like $5 a pop, and you lose 3 on a trip, that hurts.
You got to.
That's the other crazy thing, right? How many times have you went out and fished all day and not lost a jig, and then other days where you lose 10 of them?
Well, it just depends on if it's a jig day, you're going to lose a bunch of them.
Yeah,
you're going to be throwing them in that trash. So
yeah.
Ben, we haven't given anything away yet.
We're getting ready to though. Getting ready to hang tight.
Well, we doing some Sasquatch action, or what's going on? How
I think so. So
well, we got quite a few on here. Why don't you go ahead and give
right there the tactical squatch.
The tactical squatch.
I want to get that. There's a
Sasquatch is not the word. Don't go crazy with the numbers, folks. Hope it's not going. Oh no!
Too late.
No, we're not starting that just quite yet.
Let's do it. No, we are. We're doing it right now. We're change the scenery. Okay, I got a number written down. Everybody on there, this is going to be the first giveaway.
Okay.
We're going to give away 20 jigs.
Did we?
Guess the number between 1 and 200. Whoever gets that number is gonna.
He's messing everybody.
What's your thoughts on Sasquatch, Mike? Do you think it's a possibility that it's really out there?
100%.
It's a freaking big one, right?
Yeah, when you go out to Wyoming and Montana, you realize how much open space there is. There's definitely a possibility.
I got Ben Jenkins on here sent me a video.
There's Isaac.
Isaac, what's up, brother? Sent me a video that's pretty compelling. It's a big dark object in the woods, and it looks like it's up in.
Is that the one that you sent me?
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good.
I would have left that campsite.
Yeah, and it pulls a tree. It pulls a tree out of the ground. It's not like it's out in the middle of the field and you can really see it. You can tell it's a really big object, and it uproots this tree, and then it kind of slips back in the woods. And next thing you know, you see a tree that looks to be probably how big in diameter would you say?
Oh, it was probably 8 to
size
12
of a basketball, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, size of a basketball and probably 30 foot long, and it just picks it up and throws it down. Like you can see it holding it, and it's all the way on one end. It's not like in the middle. So the torque and the leverage is unbelievable. It throws it down. So I don't know, man. You can do so much right now with AI.
Yeah,
it's a you can't really know unless you see something yourself.
What's up, Rich?
But anyway, yeah, I'm there's just too many stories.
Too many stories, and like I said, the vastness of the Rocky Mountains and the Canadian mountains is just no way.
I'm with you. Like you can go east or west. We were out in the Smokies this past spring, and you talk about vast country. Like, yeah, there's lots of trails out there, but when you get up on top of one of those mountains out there and you just look and you can see 7 states,
right?
Guess what? You're not alone out there.
No. When we flew into Missoula, Montana on vacation this year, it was like, I just kept thinking, where exactly, as we started to descend, like, where are we putting this plane down exactly? And it's just nothing but mountains and vast forest, and it's crazy.
I can't remember where Dad was out west somewhere, and where they landed at, you basically went over the top of the mountain range, and he said the bottom just drops out, and they just go, whoop, and they go straight down and land, and you're done.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this was. Yeah.
When we were in Canada, and you've been up in that area a bunch, Mike, but we saw a moose walk across the road, and it literally stepped in the woods. It seemed like it went in like 2 feet and it was gone. It was so thick. It just kind of like
disappeared. Yeah.
Just so dense. And that's on that was on a highway, and it'd been clear cut around it a little bit, but it's just unbelievable how it did. We got a winner. I'll write this down.
Brandon Sanford.
Okay.
Well, and a moose is gigantic. It's not like a rabbit that disappeared 2 feet in.
Mm-mm. Well, so
hold on, Brandon. Get a hold of me on Facebook at Gabe Montgomery Fishing, or 10 Horse Monty, or reach out to me on Instagram at 10 Horse Monty 6. And we got you written down. Get a hold of me tonight, tomorrow, and I will get everything over to Isaac. And I do want to talk a little bit about the jigs that we're giving away.
Absolutely.
So
I was excited to see that new finesse jig.
Oh, that thing is phenomenal. It comes. We'll start with that one. So that's one of the jigs that we're going to be giving away tonight. And I apologize. It's not if you get a chance to watch the little video that I dropped yesterday, because I show all the jigs and it's a little bit easier to see them. The lighting was a little bit better in my office, but this little jig right here is a bad little mamma jamma. This is the Little Runt finesse jig. It's got a 2-aught hook in it, and it's got a finessey weed guard, but this hook is plenty stout. It's not like a little light wire finesse hook that's gonna bend out on you. It comes in, I think it's 6, 7, I think like 7 colors or something. It's a ball head jig, but it does have a unique characteristic on the bottom of it. It's got a little bit of a flat spot, and like I said, you can't see this until you get these in your hand. But what that
I've
does,
seen it on your Instagram. You can really see it. Yeah.
yeah. So one of the problems you have with a ball head jig is they tend to roll over because it's round, and when they roll over, they have a tendency to get hung up a little bit more. But this one has that little bit of a flat spot, and it aids in helping it sit up straight. Of course, the trailer, the flatter the trailer is also going to help the bait stand up on the bottom. But this is in a 1/4 ounce and a 3/8 ounce right now. And I'm hoping, I know Isaac's on here listening, I'm hoping sometime he'll come up with a 1/2 ounce. I think that will be a hit.
Yeah, I like that 1/2 ounce finesse.
Yeah, this is a really, really great little jig. And I've got that baby ray trawl in there. It fits perfectly. So this is a great cold water bait. But, I say cold water, but I've caught them in hot water too. This is something that 12-pound test, 10 to 12-pound test. I throw it on 15 too, but it seems to work better it seems to feel better on 12-pound tests. Spinning rod.
Yeah, all lighter jigs feel better on light line.
Yeah, 15 just almost overpowering it. I mean, I still been throwing it on 15, but I'm getting ready to rip off my 15-pound test because the rod I've been using was the Virtus. It's the finesse jig rod that they have. It's also spinnerbait jig rod or spinnerbait rod. So I've been keeping 15 pounds so I can go back and forth because I don't feel comfortable throwing a spinnerbait on 12-pound tests. But since it's cold water now, the spinnerbait is pretty much going to be out of commission until it starts warming back up a little bit. So I'm going to rip that 15-pound test line and put the 12-pound on there. I was thinking 10, but I don't know. See, if I had 10, I could throw a shaky head on there too. So I might go 10 actually. But this is all the colors are good, guys. I mean, they're standard colors, but with a little bit of tweak. But it actually comes. I finessed this out even more when you get this out of the package. And I don't have a brand new one, but the skirt is a little bit longer. So with that little bit longer skirt, it is going to give it a little more action. It also gives you the option to keep it a little bit longer or to trim it down and give it more of a finesse, spider cut or the finesse cut or whatever. So it's, you got options with it. But this thing trails up, sets up good with the baby Rage Minutes too is another good one. Or I
really like that collar on there. That looks sturdy.
Yeah, it's a good little jig, man. It's got a good hook in it.
Luke's asking about the weed guard.
The weed guard, yeah, the weed guard's it's a lighter weed guard. It's still got plenty there to do what it needs to, but it's not like a real beefy. This is not a jig that you really have to like slackline them on. You don't have to really kill them on the hook set because it's got that little bit lighter hook. It penetrates better and it's got a little bit lighter weed guard.
You're not going to want to kill them with that jig on the hook set. You're not going to want to throw a heavy action rod with that because for one, you're not going to be able to throw a 1/4 ounce.
Yeah, like a medium heavy,
yeah.
A 6'10" to like a 7'2" medium heavy is going to be perfect for this jig. And a spinning rod. If you've got a 7-foot medium heavy spinning rod, you're going to be good to go with this. It's multi-purpose. You can do a lot with this jig.
You don't have to hit them hard either, Jonathan, with that. You're not trying to blast a big 3/4 ounce football head out of their mouth either.
Right.
A little bitty ball.
Right. Because this is going to move.
I'd more just lean into him with that dude,
It's more like fishing a shaky head. You just kind of pull back on it, give it a little pressure, and let that sharp hook do the work instead of, like you said, ramming a gaff through their top lip.
Yeah, right. It penetrates pretty cool. But yeah, so we're going to be giving away each one of the prize packs tonight. It's going to have some of these in it, and if you don't win
the variety packs, they're going to be a variety pack.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. 20 jigs. It's going to be a variety of sizes and colors and the different models. So it's going to be something to cover every situation. Another jig that they came out with.
Yeah, I like Luke's style. Throw a really, really light rod and then just lean on them, just so it makes you feel like you're still leaning on them.
Man, I like finesse fishing. I know you're not like as much into it as I am, but
I can't even talk about the finesse fishing that I learned this year. I can't.
I go from 22 to 20 pounds. That's how I finesse fish.
Well, I got on a finesse kick with somebody, and I might be a closet finesse fisherman now. So.
No, Ben, it's not living rubber on that jig. It's more of a finesse skirt, so it's got a lot more action to it instead of the standard skirt material. It's a little bit thinner stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a little smaller diameter, right?
Yeah.
Isaac's dropping bombs here. Heavier size might be coming down the road. We do have a 1/2 ounce Procaster coming in the next couple weeks. So
That's good. I'm looking forward to that. So he said the Procaster, and this is the Procaster right here. This is the jig that kind of the flagship jig for Cumberland Pro. It's changed. It's been modified and improved over the last couple of years, but this has been my favorite jig in rock. People that fish a lot of rocky lakes, this Procaster is really, really good at coming through rocks. It's got a unique head design. Probably hard to see it, but it's kind of,
you can see it pretty good.
yeah, it's flat on the bottom right there, so it scoots across the rock real good. It's got a good hook, and it's a wire weed guard. It's got the twin wire weed guard, which is something you don't see a whole lot. Now, a couple of advantages to the wire weed guard that I found: it comes through grass really good. Oddly enough, you would think it wouldn't, but it sure does. And then when you're let me see, I'll pull this trailer off here so I can show you.
Josh is just hitting you with bombs. How is it in grass?
Yeah, it actually does really good in grass.
You know, that makes sense though, Gabe, because the moss and stuff doesn't want to.
Yeah, it deflects it. It's got 2 deflecting points. It's hard to explain, but it does. So one of the cool things about this jig and this wire weed guard is for putting your trailer on. You don't have to you don't really have to push the fiber aside. You can actually go right in between. It's going to be hard to show, but you see how, I don't know if you can see that or not, but the trailer fits right in between there, and you can just do that. It's actually really quick. I think I got it on there straight. Low light conditions. That's just a little speaker on there, but I've also trimmed that. I gave this thing a finesse cut too. When it comes out of the package, it's quite a bit low. It's a full skirt. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's a full skirt. I remember the first time me and you fished those when Isaac gave us some, and we were fishing after a BFL. Remember that?
Yeah, right.
We were just impressed at how are we not getting hung up in the rock with this thing?
Yeah,
it was just coming through the rock like nobody's business.
Yeah, that was a day that I really got to fish that jig in a lot of different kinds of rocks, and it did a really good job. But guys, these are, there's a lot of jigs out there. Every company makes jigs nowadays. These are made in America. They're made in Georgia. Isaac's on here. It's a small operation. This is how he supports himself. He's been doing it for a long time. There's people that are wiggle wart geeks. There's people that are, flat side wooden balsa bait geeks. He's a jig geek. He's put a lot of time and effort into designing these jigs, and they're all custom head designs and they're custom skirt colors. So it's a really good jig.
You guys can go back and understand like Isaac's mind, because we had him on.
Yeah, and he's going to come on sometime soon. He's just he doesn't have really good internet right now, so he's working on that.
I get it.
Yeah.
So that we were actually, not to get on for the tangent, but we were just discussing that tonight. So if you guys got any recommendations on Starlink, let me know, because we're out in the sticks. So
Starlink, we talked about
that's
Bigfoot, but UFOs. Like did I tell you my Starlink story?
Was that because the satellites went over and you thought it was UFOs?
That freaked me out. So it was in the middle of summer. It was about 4 or 5 months ago.
This is not a giveaway.
Yeah, but I got out of it was like 9:30 at night, and I pulled up in the driveway. I can't remember if I just got back from fishing or no, I can't remember what I was doing. Anyway, I get out of my car. I'm by myself, and I just happen to look up in the sky, and I see these lights coming towards me. And I'm like, what the heck is that? It freaked me out. So I run in the garage and I yelled in the house and say, everybody get out here. There's something crazy. I don't know what's going on. I needed a witness. Can I get a witness? And by the time they came back out,
true redneck fashion. My God, come out here, look at this shit.
I just making sure it wasn't me. And so anyway, by the time we get back out, they're gone.
So you're the crazy guy.
I have no idea what it was. Well, my daughter Ella was like, that must have been, the Elon Musk Starlink thing, because she had seen those out at her grandma's house a couple months earlier. Her grandma was out in the country, my mom. And anyway, the very next night I get home by myself again, and I look up And there they are again. This time they stay up for a little bit. I run in the house, everybody comes out, and we're sitting there watching, and they fly like, here's my house. And they fly right over the top of my house. They're high. You know, it's not like they were 50 feet above the house getting ready to, you know, take us on board or anything, but
Was it drones?
yeah, but they actually went over the house really slow, and then they just disappeared. You know,
Are they in orbit? They got to be in orbit, right?
well, they were launching. They launched from Florida and they launched from California. So I don't know what the deal was, but there were 2 nights in a row where I saw them, and it's freaky. If you've never seen it and you don't know what it is, you're definitely thinking, you know, UFO or UAP or whatever they call them nowadays.
I have a friend that's an electric engineer, design software and stuff, and he said if you could actually see all the waves that are being transferred from your Wi-Fi, from your Bluetooth, from, you know, your car GPS, just everything, if you could see those, you would just freak out and never leave your house. Like there's just so much stuff that, you know, you can't see it obviously, but there's waves going through, you know, obviously Starlink's linking you to the internet.
Yeah.
Without any wires, all the Bluetooth, all the cell phones, you know, it's pretty crazy.
You ever catch a jig without a trailer?
Catch a jig without a trailer?
Or catch a fish
on a jig
without a trailer.
I tell you what, I am so OCD. Like if I knock a pincher off, I'm putting a new trailer on. So yeah. I won't even throw a jig.
I'm the same way, Jonathan. Unless I just had a bite, I'll throw it right back in. You know, but yeah, me too. Yeah.
And I'll blame it. Like I'll not notice it for like 2 pitches, or I say 2 pitches, 2 or 3 minutes down the bank and haven't got a bite, and I'm like, oh, that's why I'm not getting bit. It's got one leg on it. Go in there and rustle around in a box and find you another leg. So,
when I very first started fishing farm pond fishing, there was my aunt and uncle lived in a place called Twin Lake Subdivision in Cape, and they have 4 ponds. And I spent a lot of time walking the bank. This is when I was, you know, in my teens, and the first jigs I threw were just the jig. You know, I just threw the jig out.
I didn't know you were supposed to put a trailer on them at first.
Yeah, I didn't know, and I caught fish on them. You know, I didn't load the boat, but I think a lot of it was I you know, didn't know what I was doing as much, but I did catch fish on it.
I can't say with forward facing sonar I started doing that.
Throwing without the trailer in there.
And I will tell you, I don't know if you guys have never thrown one in the recent years. I know you guys talked about growing up doing it, but try throwing a swim jig without a trailer on it. You cannot hit your target for save your life. That little extra weight adds the right wind drag and distance that you need. Because when you go to cast it, when you do a little roll cast on the side, you're going to miss by like 12, 15 feet left or right of your target, I promise.
You know what? That'd be a good video, is to weigh like 10 popular jig trailers, actually weigh them on a scale and see how much they weigh.
Right.
To see, you got a 1/2 ounce jig, but how much does it weigh if you put a ray trawl in there? It adds 1/4 ounce for sure. I mean, probably more than that. Probably 1/2 ounce.
Oh,
it's a lot of plastic.
There's a lot, depending on the jig trailer. Like you were talking about
how much salt's in it.
The lobster earlier. I mean, that's a huge trailer. But then you got like I started experimenting this year, just throwing like a finesse, like a little short finesse worm, cut off like Cinco or something on the back, just as a jig trailer instead of putting an actual. Go ahead. Trailer.
Yeah, let's show that one next. Lewis brings up the buckshot football jig. So this is another one that came out, I believe, last year, and this is their version of the football jig. So it's got a modified football head, and this is a pretty cool jig. It's really designed. The line tie is designed so when you're dragging this or scooting this along the bottom and it hits a piece of cover, if you just kind of pull up on it, it'll do this. It'll kind of hold, and it kind of does that. And what that does is it allows the trailer to come up and gets into that kind of that crawfish defensive position that bass like. But 1/2 ounce, 3/4. I don't know if there's a 1 ounce. I can't remember if there's a 1 ounce or not. But this has got the right hook. You don't want a really beefy hook on a football jig, in my opinion, because a lot of times you're making a really long cast. And if you got 100 feet of line out there and you get bit, you've got all that line stretch, and you've just got that distance. So if you've got a really beefy hook, it's going to be hard to get that hook to penetrate fish's mouth. So it's got a little bit, it's kind of a standard wire, I would say. It's got a little bit softer weed guard. And this is, they call it the buckshot because it's kind of, I wish I had a white one. Actually, I'll show you a swim jig in a minute that's got that, but you can kind of, can you see those dimples on that a little bit?
Yeah.
It's got little dimples on it, which is, it's unique. It looks kind of like a golf ball, and you know there could be an acoustic element. There could be it could drag a little bit more water to it. And I don't know.
Isaac is rolling right now because I remember what Isaac said about it on the swim jig, and it just looks cool.
Yeah, it just looks cool. Bottom line, it's just something different. It just looks cool. I don't know if there's any actual benefit to it, but
I don't know. I was thinking if you fished it like I like to swim those football jigs, it might create some kind of
displace a little more water,
like just do it in a funnier or different way, you know.
Hell, it might whistle. I don't know. It might just.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It might create some bubbles.
If you want to get real technical about it, I think what it is what's the big deal about a football jig? It's about displacing more water, right? Like, or displacing more dirt and sediment and kicking up a bunch of crap.
Right.
You can make it kind of rock when you drag it. Yeah.
Well, you cut a bunch of those holes in it, and you can make your jig a little bit wider.
It's true. Yeah. It is a little bit wider. It's definitely a little bit wider than your standard.
That's what when I was first doing this, I was thinking that head looks like when you drag it, it would want to walk.
Yep. And I mean, the little stuff that Isaac looks at, about to drop it on your keyboard. But if you look at the head, the very tip of that, it's more pointy than a typical football jig, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like football jigs usually are more rounded.
They look just like a football.
Yeah, and this one's kind of got a little peak on it.
It's modified.
Mm-hmm. That's going to cause it to kick, rock, kick, whatever you want to call it, back and forth.
Does it have that little indentation at the line tie? I like that a lot.
Helps that pivot point.
Protect your
knot.
Yeah. There's a lot to these. I wish Isaac was here because he designed all these himself and he can really give you the details on it. But it's a good little jig, and wild grape has been one of my colors too. One of my favorite colors. That's a really good color.
I agree.
Is that what that one is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, the Blue Bayou, the GPO, which is green pumpkin orange. There's a bunch of really good colors.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with green pumpkin and orange either.
And that's your favorite jig trailer on there. That's just that yum crawl chunk.
Green.
That's an underrated chunk, dude. I mean,
I don't know, man. It's getting harder and harder to get the 3.75s. They've been
I guess people know now.
Scalish put that one on the map.
Did he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that and Jason Christie. Yeah, I've been fishing it a long time.
You've been throwing it before. I remember seeing it anywhere else.
You were throwing it before it was cool.
You got me turned on to it 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I used to really like the Excite baits. They have some crazy looking craw that's got a big wide body. Maybe I'll go get one, but it floats. It's a very flotacious, and it's a lot of material. And I think it made the jig fall flatter when it was falling instead of nose down.
Yeah,
kind of slowed it down and it fell like that, or maybe not straight down.
Joshua, I don't know. Medium light might be a little bit too soft. I think medium you can get away with it, especially if you're somebody that goes like braid to floral leader. Medium would be fine.
Here comes the person out of the closet. Yeah, you can throw a medium light, depending on the medium light. Now that's a loaded term, right? Like, what is medium light from one rod company to another rod company? But I throw a finesse jig on a medium light. But you also got to think finesse jigs have a whole gamut. What size of finesse jig are you talking about? Because quarter ounce in the finesse jig world, quarter ounce is pretty heavy on the finesse side.
Yeah. I mean, I think a medium would be. I mean,
you're just speechless that I said a quarter ounce is heavy, aren't you?
I'm just speechless that you knew what medium light was. Well, you crappie fish too. So. Yeah, Ella is. Yeah, good call. Sophia takes after me. Could have been on the ark. Who knows?
Oh gosh, Eddie's bringing it back. X-Files. Jeez.
So we can both watch X-Files.
Martians looking for their mail.
That'll be the next.
Did you know there's a Clearwater Lake UFO story? Phil told me about it like a long time ago. I don't know. I have to ask Phil about it too.
I think there's no doubt there's UFOs at this point, right?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think we can debunk that one. Like
some of that stuff, those fighter pilots have been reporting on and stuff. You could listen to some of that audio and video that they've had. It's crazy.
I mean, to think that let's be honest, to think that we are the only intelligent beings.
Yeah, we're the dumbest form of being, I would imagine.
Here's a theory, and I'm sure you guys have probably heard of this, but we could be an ant farm.
Right.
Well,
we could just be a little dome doing our little thing, and there's aliens watching us.
So that's kind of part of my theory is like,
I like to get Greg Hagney on and talk.
They give you a little bit, right? Like here's nuclear weapons. What are they going? What is this world going to do with that? Like we're just puppets in the big grand scheme of things. But then you start talking about like, do you remember Men in Black, the movie?
Oh yeah.
And remember at the end where you had like the little bitty furry creatures that were the keeper of the time, and they lived off of that.
Right.
And then Will was like, how would somebody even just live like that in a locker? And then they open the door in the real world, there's giants running around everywhere. Right. There could be a lot of truth to something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. What's your thought on a horizontal versus a vertical line tie jig and cover? Do you have a preference?
Heavy cover. I get confused here. I like my line tie like this.
Do you?
In heavy cover.
So it's vertical, right?
Yeah.
Like
so
this.
When I'm throwing something in heavy cover, that's what I like.
Right.
So.
Right.
Well, the pig jig. We'll go through another one, then we'll give some of these away. This is another jig in the Cumberland Pro Lures lineup.
That looks like it would skip well.
Dude, this is it's a great jig. This is a modified Arky. It's got a unique head design. It does skip well. And this is kind of this is an all-purpose jig. This is something that you can definitely drag this around rock, and you can throw it into some really heavy stuff. It's got a little bit beefier weed guard on it. It definitely has a beefier hook, and I believe this is a 4-aught, but this is a flipping style hook. So this is not something you're going to throw on a medium heavy. You can on the right rod, but this is your kind of jig for uptight, Mike, or
this is to come out of your shoes with
17 pound, 20 pound line, something like that.
7.5 foot rod or 7.3.
Right. It comes in several different colors. This is the wild grape. Smashed pumpkin's been my favorite color in it, but I think it's a 3/8 and a half. I throw the half a lot, but this sucker, it's a good one. It ain't a gaff, but it ain't gonna bend. You can throw this on braid too. You can flip it on braid if you want to. Just a really good all around jig. And I've trimmed the skirt down again.
Now, would you trim that? I would probably trim that weed guard just a touch.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you probably could. It is a little. It's just.
Barely. I like having the option, and then
right.
Just like having the skirt option,
And that's another thing with the weed guard is I tend to spread it out a little bit. Yeah, I really do.
Too.
I think it's kind of the same concept as the wire weed guard on the Procaster, the V. If you spread this out, it kind of gives it a little bit of a V element. It's just got more coverage. So if it does roll over and the weed guard gets pushed a little bit, if it's wider, it's spread out, you got more room for it to push before it gets into the hook point. But really good jig. So that's also going to be in the giveaway.
Somebody threw out the Bitsy bug.
The Bitsy bug is a killer jig.
I'm sorry, but yeah, I know we're talking about Cumberland, but it's like my OG.
Yeah. Well, they have a
original finesse jig, right?
Jig too. They have a Bitsy jig too.
But it wasn't a finesse jig for me because when they came out with the flip, I threw that thing everywhere.
What was the original? A quarter ounce or 3/16?
It was a 3/16 or 3. Maybe it was 3/8.
No, they didn't have 3/8. They had quarter.
I think it was 3/16 was their heavy jig, but it had just this flimsy ass hook in it. It was nothing.
Yeah.
It was
hardly any fiber on the weed guard.
No.
Thin skirt material, but it caught a lot.
But
of
they
fish.
were like $1.29 a piece.
Yeah.
So it was, you could go buy 20 of them and lose them all in one day, and you weren't crying.
Yeah, Ben's got a good point. You go light down here, that's when you get that big bite, and
then you're
in trouble. That's what, when we had Keith Combs on, he was talking about putting like 1/0 hooks on a, what do you say, on a 6XD, and then big hooks. He always goes to the biggest hook as possible because he's living in Texas, and there are 10-pound bass. Ben's down in Texas too. Right here, around here, the chances of us hooking into, I mean, a 5-pounder can straighten your stuff out. Typically, that's a 5 or 6 pounder is about the biggest bass that we come across. I mean, we catch several of those every year, but 7s are pretty rare. At least in the waters that we fish. I'm not there. There are strip pits. Trieve's on here. He's got some strip pits. He's got some 7
giants
plus pounders in there. Yeah,
Mike, I believe all Cumberland Pros are the rubber rings. They're solid. To Mike's point earlier, they're the solid rubber rings. They're not.
Yeah, they look.
Yeah, they are. They're not hand tied. They're not hand tied, Mike.
I'll be honest with you. I've done both. I've hand tied my jigs and I've rubber rounded my jigs, and I don't have many skirts that fall down because of a rubber. And I know that's the big issue with the guys that want a hand tied skirt versus a rubber collar. I don't have them fall down, and I don't have the time or the want to hand tie a bunch of skirts of a jig that I'm going to lose.
I usually lose them long before the rubber gives up.
Or the paint's going to bust off the head, and I'm going to throw it in the bottom of the boat. It's going to get rusted out, and I'm not going to throw it again.
Yeah, the whole thing with a rubber collared jig is keep it out of the sun, because the longer it's in the sun, it breaks down that rubber collar. But if you keep it under, if you keep it under the deck of your boat, it's going to last.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a hand tied skirt.
No,
there's a lot of great.
But that's more of a cost too in the production.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not buying a Randy Blockett $13 jig. I'm buying jigs. I'm gonna try to be cost effective to the point that I'm probably gonna lose a lot. Now, I will say hand tied, they get a little more creative with their skirt colors and where they can put things in their skirts, and they don't move around a lot.
That's a really good question that Brad has. What is the best style jig for fishing riprap rock around bridges? Probably the biggest,
a lighter one.
That's what I was getting ready to say. The biggest tip I can give you, Brad, is fish the lightest jig that you can around that riprap and still get a little bit of bottom contact.
Same thing with that's with any bottom bouncing bait around riprap.
Riprap will eat your stuff. It's just something about it. And there's like Murfreesboro Lake over by Kincaid. That is the most jig eating lake I've ever been on. The way the riprap is set up, for some reason, there's been multiple times where I've lost 5 or 6 jigs in one day. A lot of times I'll go
back-to-back casts. I've lost jigs.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll go 3 or 4 trips without losing a jig, or maybe only 1 jig. But you get on that lake and you can lose like 5 or 6 jigs in an hour on that riprap over there. It's just the way it's spaced out, the way it's set up.
It makes it down in between.
Yeah, so the lighter the jig, the better. Probably
keep it moving. There's another way. Don't hop it and let it fall to the bottom.
Don't let it settle, because it's hard to
crank it.
Yeah, hard to articulate, but a jig will settle, and then if you leave it, it can start working its way down to the crevices. It'll like slip down to the crevices. But if you just let it pause and then keep it moving, you stay kind of on top of those rocks. And that's the key. Football head might be the best because of its, because it's a little bit wider.
So Lord, we started something with the Bitsy. That must be somebody's else's favorite jig too. So
probably a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah.
Availability and price point. Ben says hand tie your own. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, you can do it
appliances.
You can take that. You can use that rubber collar and you can hand tie around it and then cut the rubber collar off if you want.
Yeah, Mike says a stupid tube is a way to fish riprap. That's definitely a good alternative.
Mm-hmm.
A light shaky head, like an 1/8 ounce shaky head, it is a good one too.
I can agree, Lewis. I just don't use a lot of oil-based scents. So
Me neither.
he says a rubber collar sprayed with oil-based scents can cause skirt slippage over time. Hand tied is better.
Yeah, it could cause.
Hand tied is definitely better. It's just
Gold.
not the end all be all.
Right.
It's not going to cause me to buy a jig or not buy a jig being hand tied.
Mm-hmm.
I use them scent sticks if I use anything, and I rub it on the weed guard because that's what's brushing over the, it's kind of causing it to stir it up a little bit. Then you don't get it all over your skirt.
That's what she
Plus,
said.
most of the soft plastics we use anymore, right? The Yum, and they all have scent in them for the most part. Or just leave them in the, squirt a little bait fuel in the bag in the morning.
Let's give away some more jigs.
Indeed.
We're gonna do. This is something I have. This is the first time I did this, guys. This is the giveaway tool. So we're gonna try something, and hopefully it works. We'll see if we can pull this.
It's not a number. It's not a number.
It's not a number. Let's see. Okay, so what we're gonna do is my dog's name is Finley. We're gonna do a hashtag Finley. So Finley is spelled capital F-I-N-L-E-Y.
I'm gonna put it in the comments.
You gonna put it in the comments?
Yeah, F-I-N-L-E-Y, right?
Yeah, but do the
Capital.
hashtag and capital just to,
So you know what's gonna happen is we're gonna win the.
but don't do it yet because I gotta hit this little button first.
Oh, crap! First day.
You guys are like Pat Sajak and Alex Trebek over there.
Okay, hold on, guys. Don't start typing Finley yet. Let me go. I gotta start collecting comments. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead, let her rip. So we'll let this load up. If you want to get in the giveaway for 20 Cumberland Pro Lures jigs, hashtag Finley. I think it's got to be capital F too. So make sure you're doing the hashtag and then the capital F and then lowercase I-N-L-E-Y. So if you haven't entered it that way, go ahead and re-enter it that way.
I like this way a lot better because I don't have to go through 10,000 comments of numbers.
So what, you got some kind of system that's going to just draw one out?
Yep.
It's going to be the random. Yeah. Hopefully if things work like they're supposed to, and we'll put it up here on the screen. And
it seems to be working. I'm looking on the backside here.
What's the next hashtag?
What?
I don't know yet.
What about a little PC Outdoors for Mark?
PC Outdoors?
No, Bluff City.
Oh, Bluff City. Yeah. Yeah, we could do that.
Bluff City Outdoors.
Yeah. You going to the boat show coming up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You're going to be working?
They're working for Mark. Yeah. You should have a lot more bass stuff this year.
Like 6th, 7th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm not sure if I'll make the 6th all day because my daughter has a wrestling tournament. So that's why I haven't been doing a lot of fishing this winter because she's wrestling. And I'll tell you what,
how's the wrestling going?
It's going good, man. It's going good. She's, there is no freshman JV. It's just varsity for the girls because they don't have enough. So she comes up against some absolute beasts from time to time. She's just a freshman, doesn't have a lot of matches under her belt yet, but she has got a 4th place in like a 40 school tournament. So that's not too shabby.
Heck no, that's awesome.
I'll tell you a funny story though, man. She said, Dad, quit telling this story. You're embarrassing me. I'm like, I'm not embarrassing you. I'm bragging on you. You'll appreciate this, Jonathan. So she had a 1st round bye. Her coaches are smart. They put her in the bracket where she's going to get a bye, and then she's going to come up against an absolute beast. Then she'll get bounced to the losers bracket or the 2nd bracket, and she'll be in with more in her skill level, right?
Right.
As a freshman. So she drew a bye. This was at Fort Zumwalt East last weekend. She drew a bye. And then her very next match was against a senior whose high school record was 97-1. Her only loss came in her 1st year, and she lost at state to get 2nd. So Elena lasted 1 minute and 42 seconds in the 1st period before she got pinned. So anybody that's ever wrestled knows if you can last 1 minute 42 with a 2-time state champion, 3-time state qualifier that's 97-1, you got a little potential down the road.
Yeah,
that's pretty solid.
And my favorite thing about it is she's getting more comfortable at being extremely uncomfortable. Like you got to learn how to get your face rubbed in the ground and your arm twisted around and not panic. You know, I think wrestling teaches the greatest life lessons.
My kid asked to play football this year. I'm like, dude, you don't like to get hit. So like until you can learn to get hit and move on with life, like you can't play football, buddy. He's like, okay. And he was fine with that. Like he understands, like, I don't like getting hit, so I don't want to play football.
Yeah, you won't like football.
So but
yeah, and then breathing. Breathing is so key when somebody is on top of you and they're pushing down on your chest or they're pushing their arm against your neck.
Right. Or just slamming your head, trying to get an arm underneath your neck. Yeah.
Slapping your ears, and it's that breath. That breath is so important to stay calm and to stay in that position until you can make a move.
Any combat sport, really. Any sport, actually. But you know, she's gotten some tough spots, man. And
let's give it one more minute to get everybody in here.
We'll do it at 9:14.
Yeah.
That is 60 seconds away.
Yeah, just give it.
We're going to
make sure everybody's in here.
I see that we got like, let's see, hold on, let me get this off of here. Wrong one. How many people we got on here tonight? We got 93 on here right now, and I got like 64 entries. So last 45 seconds here. Hustle up, folks. You can only enter once. So if you've already entered once, we got you. Don't throw a bunch of them up there.
Unless you want to.
You can.
Hey, I just wanted to brag on you a little bit. This show has come so far. The amount of big names you guys have had over the last 2 years is mind-boggling.
All right, let's draw it.
I said at 14.
Oh.
It's not 14 yet. Calm down. Yeah,
Easy over here.
I need the – because you know if we draw early, somebody's going to say something.
It's 9:14.
Drawing.
Here we go.
Is the name going to pop up?
Is it rolling? Scott Edwards.
Scotty Edwards.
Nice.
The confetti.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's legit.
Yeah, I like that. That's a nice system. Seems to be easier on JB too. He doesn't have to do so much.
I'm not cross-eyed anymore.
Scott, get a hold of me. Send me your address because we're going to be shipping all this stuff out, obviously.
So Scott and Brandon, just so we know, if it does happen to randomly pick you again, you can only win once a night. So
got to have rules.
That's right.
Beam me up, Scotty. Yeah, it is, Andy. But we're still going to do the other giveaway.
There's the reasons behind the numbers,
right?
Isn't there?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we like that. Plus, I like to ask that question to the guests because you never know. It's been a while since we've hit. It's going to happen.
You mean a good one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good sighting, a good story. Or
something. You need to get Hackney on.
Yeah.
We need to figure out how to get Hackney on because I have a feeling Hackney's got some. Like, I think it should just be stories that night. We're not even going to talk fishing. Just.
I want to get deep.
Man, that's a great idea. Guys that have been on the road that long, they got stories for days, man.
Yeah, let's not talk about fishing. Let's talk about the shit that happens, right? Like life.
What's the craziest thing that's ever happened when you're putting gas in your boat at the gas station? You know?
Right.
Because I guarantee there's a story behind almost every one of those guys.
I mean, there's been a lot of people that have walked up to me in gas stations, and you just smile and move on.
Hey, what's the coldest water? And everybody at home, you can answer this too. What's the coldest water that you've ever caught a fish in? Not ice fishing.
Throwing shade.
Not ice fishing. Just in general, the coldest that you've ever been out, you looked at your graph and it said what? And you caught a fish that day.
I've caught them in 35 for sure.
35?
Yeah. Maybe even colder.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably. I know I've caught them in 37, but I've got video, years ago on the YouTube channel where I caught them in 37 degree water. What we got?
My kind of fishing.
52. That's a cold front down in Texas. God Man, it's cold. Yeah.
Mine's got to be like
38s.
Mine's got to be like high 30s. Like,
Yeah.
I know that's pretty common though. I mean,
Man,
I just don't fish a lot when it's
Yeah.
that brutally cold out.
That Toyota series, it was frozen solid every morning.
Yeah, that's true. That was
What was the
30
water temperature? And I hate to ask that because that sounds like a stupid question, but what was the water temperature?
35, 34, 35, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what we forget though a lot of times though is go down a foot.
I'm talking surface temp.
Go down
I'm
3
talking,
feet.
I'm talking your trolling motor's in the water. Well, even your transducer off the back of the boat, whatever that's reading, whatever's what. And it, because that same tournament it was day one. We went all the way back in the glaze and it was 50 degrees back there.
Water?
Yes. I couldn't believe that. So it was 34 on the main lake and it was 50 degrees in the
dirtier and shallower.
Dirtier and shallow. And it was a river too.
That's why I asked that. Like a lot of times that top layer can just get a layer of skim ice or get froze. And then rest of it, you put your trolling motor down and it's 4, 5, 6 degrees warmer than your transducer temperature just because you're 2 foot deeper.
Yeah. It seems like the high 30s and maybe low 40s. There's something that happens, and we've talked about this before, and I know Ron and I have had discussions, but like for me, 42, when it gets below 42, it starts getting really tough for me.
Yes.
41, 42.
I just don't think the fish are willing to move as far. You have to almost put it right in front of them.
And I think they feed very like their feeding window is super short, maybe only once a day or something.
I agree, Luke. But what sucks even worse than your guides freezing is, I know Gabe's the one that kind of turned me onto this, is your braid freezing.
Oh yeah, it blows up on your reel too when it thaws out.
Yeah, there's nothing worse.
Yeah, so anybody on here that's don't go fishing with braid when it's below freezing, because what happens is that the braid sucks up the water, and it's while you're on the water, it's a pain in the butt. But if you take that braid that's frozen and come inside the house, take your rods and reels inside the house, and it thaws out, it blows up. It's not a good thing.
You ever caught them punching through the ice?
No, what's the coldest you've ever caught a punching fish? I think 47 for me.
I was gonna say mid to high 40s.
47 is for me. I just actually a couple of weeks ago I found a little stretch that had like 47-degree water and I caught one punching.
Could you catch one this week punching?
I don't know.
Could you force it?
I don't know if you got. I think if the water's 43, 44, 45. And you get 3-day warming trend where the sun's beating down on those mats and the grass is not super snotty, I think you might be able to catch a couple, maybe. But man, it probably ain't the best pattern. But I'm not saying it can't happen.
Is there a giveaway for your hat tonight?
I can go up and get my Yingling hat. This is my Montana Knife Company hat here.
Yeah, it's different.
We may or may not have a Montana knife handy. That's I caught one time. Oh, I didn't catch him. That's a lie. When you get that real thin, you can't even tell there's ice there, gloss in the backs of the coves.
Yeah.
Right. I threw a jerk bait one time and hit on it and slid across the ice, and I was reeling it back across the top of the ice, and I had one come up and bust the ice trying to get it. I mean, it was super thin. I'm not saying it was busting a half-inch of ice or nothing, but.
Oh wow!
I've heard of that before. Like guys, when the lake's just starting to thaw out, and you chuck like something that you're going to be pitching up there anyway on top of the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as it rolls off the ice or right on the edge of one, will just hammer it right there.
Yeah, I wonder if they hear it coming across the top, and then
Mike, they caught them pretty good on a frog in 47-degree water. I've caught them on 49, 48, and 49.
I mean, we caught them on top water in a snowstorm.
Yeah.
So,
is this one?
No, right above that. Fishing. Ooh, we're busting out the guns tonight.
What's up, Drew? Yeah. How do you determine? Oh yeah, that's nice, man.
Yeah, these are incredible knives.
Yeah.
Montana Knife Company. This is the Blackfoot.
Is that a fixed blade?
Fixed blade with a Kydex holster. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
They're super, super sharp knives.
Great for
And
that
they're-
riding out the bar.
Yeah.
Well, that rat tail that's hanging over your shoulder.
Yeah. And they sharpen them for life. You just send them back and they sharpen them for you.
I don't know if that's a rat tail. There's a point where it goes from a rat tail to being like
That's
a
a full on.
horse tail or something. Yeah.
How long has it been?
Since the Blues made the playoff run in 2018, I started growing it in the playoffs, the beard and the hair. So that
And
was
you
like
haven't cut either one since?
Oh, I've trimmed the beard a bunch. Yeah, it gets kind of nasty, but the hair I haven't cut any length off of it actually.
So when you need a couple extra like fish in the boat, do you
Tie a hair jig? I could tie
Yeah.
a hair jig.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Never know.
I'll get
Yeah,
with
keep-
Jonathan Morris on that.
If you break down on
I'm just a little jealous, bud. I'm not gonna lie.
if you're on a deserted
I
island,
can understand.
put a few fish in a boat.
I'm actually thinking about. Well, I'm doing it for the wigs for kids. It wasn't just the Blues being in the playoffs and going to the Cup, but as an old hockey player, I always did the beard and the hair in the fall. But my son's in the military now. He's deployed right now, and he's learned to cut hair. He's getting $5 a pop to cut hair while they're deployed, and he's practicing learning how to do a fade. So I think we're going to do a little Instagram video when he comes home of him cutting me into a military fade when he gets back.
Well, thank you for your support and thank him for his service.
100%. Yeah, he's going to teach us some new tricks. He sent me a video of him on the M2 Brownie throwing some 50 cals down range. He said that looked like a good time.
I'm actually debating doing that
Good time.
tomorrow. It'll be 50 cals, but it won't be that 50 cal.
No, it won't be the bump, 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 bump. Yeah.
And it won't
You
be
got it?
that big either. It'll be hand loaded 50 cals tomorrow.
You got a 50 cal?
Muzzle loader, bud. Muzzle.
Oh, muzzle loader. Okay.
No, I have a buddy that has one. He's up in South City. So
punch a hole in the Arnold water tower with it from South City.
well, the problem he talks about is like there's not many places to go shoot it.
No, Asymmetric Solutions is a good spot to go. They got a 1 mile shop there.
He's got some private ground that he can go shoot it on, and he's told me anytime that I want to come up and shoot it, just let him know.
You're only going to want to shoot it like twice, and you're going to be done.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like a lot of fun.
It does. It does. Most of the military guys that I know that were snipers, they don't want anything to do with lugging that heavy bastard around.
No, I just think it's just a bucket list thing that I want to shoot one before I
Yeah.
die. So
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, the original reason that thing was kind of built was during the Cold War. Like you could punch a hole in a jet engine block or a missile launching from a long ways off and just render it useless.
mhm.
Give away some pappies.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
I do know
Not
a
yet.
place that is giving away pappies though this time of the year.
Really?
So, and I'm already signed
That's
up.
out of my price range. That's the only way I'm drinking Pappies is if I win it. That's for dang sure.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is you don't win it; you win an opportunity to buy it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a whiskey drinker, but I'm not a whiskey snob. I don't get that fancy.
well, I've been buying and trading lately. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So what's your favorite just under $30 bottle of whiskey?
There's not many good under 30s because of the secondary market and what you can buy. Like if you could buy a Weller Special Reserve or any Weller, honestly, is MSRP close to it's all under 50, but secondary has made them through the freaking roof.
Kind of like all tickets now, right?
Yeah,
You can't buy tickets to a damn concert.
That drives me nuts.
absolutely.
Me too.
So, but if you want like a good just sipping bottle, like Elijah Craig EC is a good one. And you can find those pretty regularly. If you can find Eagle Rare for under 50, that's a phenomenal buy.
What's the handle made out of on that knife?
You know, that's a good question. It feels like some kind of composite material. Let me see if it says. But mine's Jim Beam Black for like $22 a bottle. I mean,
I'm not
for every day.
I'm not a fan, but you're a whiskey drinker. I'm a whiskey snob. So,
yeah.
So Jermaine.
It's called a G10 bulletproof handle, is what it says.
Huh.
But if, like I said, it feels like some sort of composite, almost like a composite decking material or something.
Brad, man.
Boone's Farm.
Boone's Farm.
I love Michter's, but he
That's
asked for
sipping.
cheap, and the Michter's that I like is like $300 a bottle. So
Jim Beam Devil.
I do like Knob Creek. I like Knob Creek a lot.
yeah, Basil Hayden's
good.
decent drink for cheap. If you guys like a rye, Rothsville is a fantastic rye. You guys that drink whiskey will know it has legs for days. So
Johnny Walker Black.
My number one rule with whiskey is it can't be any kind of.
10 Cup is really good. I like 10 Cup. I'll drink that every day.
Too.
It doesn't hit very hard, so it's a smooth drink.
See, I like a burn. Like another $20 bottle is Evan Williams Bottled and Bond 100 proof, the white labeled Evan Williams. It's got some bite to it though. It's not.
I just picked up a
single barrel
last week, so for all my whiskey connoisseurs, they'll know what I'm talking about when I say a Stag Junior. So
only thing I don't like in a whiskey is any kind of damn flavor. I don't want apple or cinnamon or any of that crap.
So there's a couple things that don't belong in bourbon and whiskey, and I might make you mad here, Mike. Flavors don't belong, water doesn't belong, and ice doesn't belong.
If I'm drinking the kind of whiskey you're drinking, it's always neat.
Fair enough.
If I buy a $50 bottle plus, it's neat for sure, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a lot of bottles that are underrated that are in that $30 to $50 price range. That
What's the worst whiskey?
Oh,
that you ever had? Southern Comfort.
That's not whiskey.
You know,
That's not whiskey.
I don't even.
What is that?
SoCo is what is SoCo?
It's like I don't know but I don't think it's bourbon or whiskey. I don't know what you would call it. It's like a blended. I don't like blended whiskeys either. Canadian whiskeys are nasty.
No.
Fireball.
Kentucky Tavern's pretty far down there. That comes with a bail bond card.
That one, what's that? What is that one that everybody always gets?
Fireball's gross, man.
Fireball is pretty gross.
Fighting cock.
It's like coffee. There shouldn't be anything in it but coffee. I mean, it's just
a blend.
Yeah, I like my coffee black.
Yeah. Only thing I'm doing now is I stir in the first form collagen in my coffee in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of helps with the joints and the hair and the nails kind of thing. Just it's
if I drink coffee, I drink more black coffee to warm it back up.
What about George Dickel?
Yeah. George Dickel's all right.
How about McCormick's?
Never had that.
That's pretty low on the bottom of the barrel too.
Yeah, I've had McCormick's.
What's the Jefferson?
Jefferson, I had that a couple weeks ago. It's not bad.
It's not bad. Angel's Envy, I think that's another one I've had.
Pretty good. Woodford, I had Woodford last week, I guess it was. I don't know. My wife would say that I have too much, but I have a pretty nice collection at my house. My brother-in-law is who got me into it, but you talk about snob, like he is full on snob. So
yeah, see, I buy it to drink it, but
Isaac's got to hit the sack. He's got to get up early. He's a working man. He said, early morning, great show tonight, guys. Big congrats to the winners. Truly appreciate the support to the THM family has shown us. Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks,
Merry
Isaac.
Christmas to you, Isaac.
Thank you.
Really
Isaac.
appreciate everything. I'll be in touch, buddy.
We got one more giveaway, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna pop it off here shortly. Tequila Rose.
We started with lottery and
what else do we start?
So have you tried Metallica's whiskey?
No, I have not.
It's kind of a gimmick, I think, but when it's setting in the barrels, they blast Metallica music to vibrate the barrels.
Yeah. So the rule of thumb is the prettier the bottle or the prettier the topper, the shittier the whiskey.
Yes, it's all a window dressing, right? Yeah.
And if it's got a name on it, it sucks. So
we got quite a few people on here that have definitely dabbled in the lower end whiskey for sure, and the upper end.
And the reason I drink ice with my Jim Beam is because A, it's Jim Beam, and B, it's how I stay hydrated.
There you go.
See, I stay hydrated with beer. So
what about the Buffalo Trace? Anybody tried any of that?
Buffalo Trace, is okay in my opinion, but
Yeah, it's okay. Four
Isn't that one of
Roses
the
is
oldest
good.
distilleries in the world, or in the United States? Buffalo Trace. It's got some.
I'm not the historian on
Okay.
on whiskey to ask that question.
I'm just going off of what Joe Rogan says. I know that's one of his sponsors.
Buffalo Trace is.
Mhm.
I got you.
Coffee and Bailey's. Yeah, it's that time of year.
I like my coffee how I like my women, strong and independent.
There you go. Good answer. Good safe answer. Good safe answer. Oh,
Mad
damn.
Dog.
Damn.
Woo!
Man, that made the food come up right here just now. I've had some
Yeah.
smoke of that.
Yeah, Daniel
I've
T
had
said
some
SoCo
experience.
is called whiskey, but it's more like sugar water.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mad Dog.
I'll tell you what, though, when I was
Grapefruit.
a young man and may or may not have still been in high school, that was my go-to. I'd buy a bottle of Southern Comfort, drink half of it right out of the bottle on Friday and the other half on Saturday night around a fire somewhere. We did a lot of outdoor partying on the river road back in the day.
So I tell you what, my brother-in-law got into. They're towards the. He's starting to kind of get out of it. Some health issues, but they're towards the end. He got into what they call dusties, which are unopened bottles from like the 60s and the 70s.
Because they're dusty.
Because they've been sitting in somebody's basement since then.
So is that just a lottery? You don't really know what you're getting?
Some of them are okay. No, they're all like legit whiskey. They've just been sitting in someone's basement for 50.
So whiskey's not a thing that ages like wine, is it?
It has a distinct flavor. I am not a fan. Like I've tried them, and it is, you can taste like the must of your grandma's house, and I can't do that. So.
Yeah. Well, Gabe knows me. I don't have any whiskey bottles that gather any dust.
No, it's all fresh. If Billy Strings drinks Metallica, then I would say I have to try that sometime down the road.
Bob Dylan's that one that he puts his name on is not bad. For I know you said it shouldn't have a name on it, but
don't they call that a shoey in Australia?
Like
drinking a beer out of a shoe, they call it a shoey. It's
there's that UFC guy that drinks a beer out of somebody else's shoe after every win.
Yeah, and they spit in it too. I think they spit in it. Yeah, it's like a tradition. You kind of got to do it, or you're.
Is that how you start your tournament day? Is beam and coffee?
No, I don't drink anything for the tournament. That's for sure. Them boats are way too fast for all that.
It's still in your system though when the tournament starts.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I've been a little foggy in the morning.
But you can always say it was the day before.
Yeah.
Jameson Red.
We got a lot of
Whistle Pig.
Whistle Pigs.
Whistle Pig is out of my price range too.
It's out of mine too. So when I talk about all these fancy whiskeys that I have, don't think that I like buy them on the secondary. I have a store just local that sells them to me at MSRP, just like they sell everybody else. I'm just fortunate that I call on a lot of convenience stores and I see invoice costs and I know how much the stuff costs, and I have access to see where they keep their private stock at. So you can just walk back there and grab a handful. Say, hey, will you sell me this today? And they say yes or no, and you move on with your day. If they tell you no. So
right. That's a good way to go.
Luke says, "What's the Arky style jig from Cumberland?" That's the pig jig. That's the one.
That's probably one of my favorite.
It's a good jig, man. It's a really good jig. It's got a little bit beefier hook on it. Got a really good weed guard on it. Wild grape, smashed pumpkin. There's all the colors are really good. It just depends on what fancies your eye. But that's the modified Arky. Yeah, and then there's one more. We'll give this last giveaway away here in just a minute. But the other jig that's really unique, and I don't know, maybe there is another swim jig out there with a rattle on it, but you don't see them very often. But this is the Bama swim jig. This was designed originally for. Let me take this keeper off here. This was designed originally for the Bama shake, which is a technique where you're keeping that jig up high in the water column and you're reeling it slow and you're just shaking it. So
shaking your rod tip when you're reeling.
Yeah, you shake your rod tip. It a lot of times with a chunk or something that's got a lot of lift, and it's just a slow rolling kind of really works good in the pre-spawn, the post-spawn. But to add to that shake, they've put a rattle. So you got a red rattle that sits off the bottom of that jig. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to get the skirt material. So there's a rattle right there. So as you're shaking, well, you hear it there.
Yeah.
But as you're shaking it, it gives the jig an acoustic element, which and it's red too. You know, supposedly fish are attracted to red. I guess it's a bloodline or something. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that. I always wonder how they know what really works and what doesn't. But anyway, it doesn't hurt. I do know that. So it's got a good size hook on it, and it's also got that golf, the dimpled head is what they call it. So it's kind of a conical shaped head. It's got a nice weed guard. It's softer weed guard. You know, it comes through grass really good.
It's like that fluorocarbon weed guard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a regular.
It's just clear.
It's just clear. Yeah, it's just clear. But it comes in several colors. This has been one of my favorite. This is a chartreuse shad, I believe. Chartreuse shine or chartreuse shad, but it's got some chartreuse, it's got some white, it's got some variegated with black in it. And
funny, Brad. You're funny.
The other one that I like a lot.
It's wintertime and I don't have any tan on it.
What, your head?
Yeah, he's talking about my head. He goes, every time I take my head off, he has to adjust the contrast for the TV.
The Houdini is another color that is really cool.
What sizes do that Bama come in?
It comes in a 1/4 and a 3/8. So it's designed for, a little bit shallower water fishing. Now the 3/8, you can put a swim bait on there. I put like a Hawgz Custom Swimmer on there, and it gets down to like a 3-inch swim bait. It goes good on this. But usually I'm throwing a rage crawl. I throw a rage crawl a lot on this to really keep it up high in the water column, or I'll throw a menace. Just some sort of twin-tailed grub and a chunk. I had some pretty good success in, I think, 45-degree water the spring of this year. I was throwing this swim jig right here with a chunk on the back of it, like a big bite baits chunk, and I just threaded that chunk up there, and I could you could almost make it stop in the water. There was so much lift in it, and there was a day where water temperature was 45 degrees. It was really stained, and the sun had been beating down on it all morning long. And in the afternoon, I pulled up shallow and caught several fish on this bait right here in 45-degree water, which is pretty cool. I kind of, to me, before the last couple of years, it's always been like, I don't know, swim jig has been more of a 52, 53-degree water temp thing. But I've been experimenting with it the last couple of years in that colder water. I caught a fish in 37-degree water on it last winter. So that's the coldest water I've ever caught a swim jig fish. But I think when it gets into 40s, like mid 40s, you can legitimately go out on the right day and catch fish on a swim jig. But this is the Bama swim jig. And all these, if you don't win this last package, I have left a link on the bottom. If you want to go click on that link and take a look at them, you're certainly welcome to do that. They're a good price point. They're like $3.59 a piece, which is good for a jig. A lot of jigs are like $5-6, and this is very quality made. It's not a piece of crap for sure. So for $3.50 or $3.89, I'm not sure, it's right in that. It's less than $4. You're getting a really good quality jig, but good hook too. It pretty much will hold whatever you want to put on there. I think I wouldn't put like a 4.8 Kitech on there, but you could put like a 3.8 if you wanted. Rage crawl, most of your standard size stuff will work on this, but I think it's got 5 different colors, something like that.
We're gonna ask one question and we'll do this giveaway here.
Yeah, sure.
So if you had one jig to throw, which one would it be?
We talking about brand or just type? Because I think it's not fair to go with the brand.
No, let's not go brand. Let's just go
style.
Let's go style of jig, whether it's a swim jig, football, arky, ball.
I would throw a pig jig, let's say an arky jig. I think an arky jig is you can do a lot with it. I think this is a little bit better for flipping for sure than a football jig, but it's also got enough head design that you can throw it out and drag it like a football jig. Probably the downside of dragging it on a long cast is it got a little bit thicker hook, but for all purpose, this would be my pick. So what's your pick?
I like a structure jig. So arky style, bigger head. It's kind of the same line. I'm not a big fan of the arky. I like that arky. I don't like the arky that I make. you just kind of get with the cards that you're dealt when you buy a mold. But I have a jig that I like. It's just structure jig. So, but very, very similar. Arky-esque, if you will.
It's got that diamond kind of shape to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They call it like a pipe head or something.
Yeah, but I can put a beefier hook in it, and anytime that I'm throwing a jig, I'm typically throwing it on 20.
See, if you look at like this Arky is a modified Arky, so it's a little bit it's wider than
it's like it had made sweet love with a football jig.
Yeah, so here's a football jig, and keep in mind the buckshot jig is a modified football, so it's
very unique football jig. Yeah,
it's wider than normal, but throwing this pig jig, it's still wide enough to where you get that feel of a football jig. It's got enough surface area to where if you throw it out and drag it, you can still feel the rocks, but you can still, flip it and pitch it and it comes through the stuff better. But what about you, Mike?
That's probably a good choice, but for me, I'm a 1/2 ounce finesse football jig if I had to throw just one.
A lot of that has to do with where you fish at a lot too, correct?
100%.
Yeah.
All right, let's get some jigs away. Bluff City Outdoors. Is that what we're gonna do?
# Bluff City.
Yeah, you got to set it
Outdoors.
in. Set it in up here.
So don't start guessing yet.
I'm gonna clear it out.
We still got to get over there and shoot some bows and get a little footage.
I know, man. I know. I want to get back over there and.
They've been.
Get over there. I've never been over there at all.
They've been putting some good giveaways out or raffles out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had like a $1,500 giveaway. I think you gave away a bow or something.
They've been giving away like 3 or 4 bows a night, it seems like.
I just want to go shoot one. I'm afraid I'll get back into it. I've never hunted, but I like to just shoot. I like to just go target shoot with them.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
we're doing Bluff City Outdoors. Pull it up on the extended screen too, so people can see.
I got back into bow hunting this year, and it's bad. So
Hook Life says for his water it would be
oh crap.
The Procaster or the swim jig.
Yeah, like back to what JB was saying, it's all where you're fishing. My 1/2 ounce football would not be my jig if I was fishing more lakes that had grass and that sort of stuff in it. Goes up more about skipping around the ducks and fishing the brush piles and the rock.
I want to throw that one up there. What's your ideal water temperature? Not for jigs, just for fishing in general.
Low 50s.
Low 50s, Gabe?
Maybe mid 50s, but
geez, I don't know, man.
For me, that's a tough one because, like, is it low 50s in March with a warming trend coming, or is it low 50s in the fall and it's dropping like a rock?
I think for me, the times that I've caught the most fish, and this is just numbers, has been in the fall when the water drops into the high 60s. To me, that's enough to, like, I'd say low 70s. Let's say like 67 to 72 on the fall when it's coming out of the 80s and it hits that low 70s into the top 60s there. It seems like that triggers. Usually it coincides with the length of the day and that kind of stuff. But that when that water hits that temperature in our area, it triggers the fish to really start feeding aggressively, and you can have some really good days. I think of some of the offshore fishing that happens then. And then in the spring, it seems like 52, 53 right in there. It's weird how it hovers. Like it seems like in our area, it'll hover at 50, 52, 53 for a long, long time until it finally stabilizes and starts working its way up. And then in the fall, it does the same thing. It'll hold right there. So you get that stability. I know one thing that's misleading in the spring. It's been 42, 43, 44. And then all of a sudden there's a day where we have a little bit of warm rain and you go out and the water jumps up 10 degrees and you're like, I'm going to freaking blister them. You don't even get a bite. Those are the toughest days when the water jumps from 45 to 53 overnight.
Because in 3 days it's going to be back down to 45.
Yeah, and it's deceiving because it's not the fish haven't really woken up yet. They didn't move off shallow and they're really aggressive, ready to spawn.
I guess
it's kind of like when the water comes into the bushes, they don't get there right away.
My favorite is it's temperature and time of year, and I'm going to be stingy, and I have two, and it's what you said first there, Gabe. It's actually a little bit cooler than that in the fall. So you said that high 60s. I would say that low 60s, high 50s when it makes that transition, because that's like the second transition into fall when for grass fishing it really turns on. And then the other one is on the flip side of the year in the spring. I like those coming out of those super cold days and you're hitting that consistent 48, 49, 50 degree water temperature. And I like fishing in that dirt shallow when nobody else is. I think that's when you can catch some of your biggest fish of the year.
Yeah, the big ones move up shallow to feed when the water starts to get that temperature. They get up and sun themselves.
Yep.
Later you get around that dark rock when it's like,
and it needs to be dirty, just chocolate freaking milk dirty.
Here's a good question. What's the coldest you'll throw a worm? Now, a shaky head worm, I'll throw it in the coldest of water. That when that water gets below 42, I have more confidence in an actual like a 5-inch shaky head worm on an 1/8 ounce head or 3/16 ounce head than I do just about anything. If I'm really needing a bite, which most of the time I am when it's that cold, and they're on the bottom, I can get a lot of bites on a little shaky head worm. But like a traditional, ribbon tail or something, it's weird. I've had this conversation with Ron, and I don't know why we don't throw them when the water gets cold, but we seem like we forget about them.
Almost all soft plastics in general. Yeah. Like you'll put a trailer on a jig, but you don't go pitch around a beaver when it's 38 degrees out or 38 water temperature.
Especially a worm. It's just, and I don't know why.
My dad does. Like he'll throw a worm all year, and I kind of look at him funny because he does a lot of funny things. I'm sure he's caught some in really cold water. I'm sure he hasn't caught many fish in really cold water.
Right. It can be super tough. That's a good question, though.
Not that he hasn't caught. He just doesn't fish.
He doesn't go out there.
When
right.
It's super cold.
I would say if you got confidence in that worm, throw it.
Absolutely. It kind of goes back to our original conversation was black and blue versus green pumpkin. Like, what do you got confidence in? Throw it.
Right.
There's a farm that we hunt just outside of Canton, Missouri. If anybody knows where that's at.
I used to race motorcycles at Canton.
It's one of the farthest northeastern counties in the state of Missouri. And I don't have any ground. I cannot stake any claim on any of this. It is, I am borrowing it from a friend. So,
being caught some on a brush hog.
I've got away from doing that too. I used to trailer my jigs with a brush hog, and I haven't done that in forever.
They'll still bite a brush hog in cold water, like a baby brush hog. They'll bite a beaver really good in cold water too.
One more minute on the giveaway.
One more minute, yeah.
When we were saying stuff you get away from, I got away from. I used to trailer my jig with a brush hog a lot, and I got away from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big profile on a jig.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can go the baby brush hog too. You can throw
he's getting sneaky with it.
Yeah, you can throw a beaver's a really good trailer too that gets overlooked.
Yeah, it's got that slow kind of almost like a chunk, like a pork chunk almost. It doesn't move much.
All right, let's get away.
We doing it? All right, here we go.
This is exciting.
Oh my gosh, it's riveting stuff. Riveting.
Look at it go. Eddie Hawk.
Eddie Hawk. The hat wins again.
Only thing missing in that profile picture is the whipped cream on your nose. And
I was thinking some tequila and a margarita.
He's riding a donkey in that picture, I'm pretty sure.
I think there's a bit that I think it's Ron White that does it. You can ride the tram or you can ride the donkey. It is your choice. The price is the same.
So what are you going to fish next year, Mike? You know yet?
I haven't any idea, man. Are you fishing the BFLs for sure?
I'm gonna fish the LBL division, I think. And I
know division.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Yeah, I want to make the
just
All
wanna
American.
You want to catch some smallmouth?
I want to
don't
make the
you?
All American, man. Before I die, I want to make.
Yeah, I had to miss the first Oak Outdoors, so I don't know if I want to jump in those and hope I'm able to make the championship after missing one.
I know this is a crazy question.
Congrats, Eddie. Before we go any further, congrats. Get a hold of me, Eddie. Gabe Montgomery Fishing, or 10 Horse Monty on Facebook, and then 10 Horse Monty 6 on Instagram. We'll get you taken care of, man. Congratulations to everybody, and don't forget, support the people that support us. You know, you've got a lot of options out there. A lot of these faces on here, you know, they show up every week, and they're familiar.
There's a lot
with
of
the
new
product.
faces this week.
There's
too.
a lot of new faces. Yeah. Next time you go to buy a jig, go check out Cumberland Pro Lures. Baitworks. If you go to Baitworks, you can get 20% or 10% off your first order using THN10 code. You can't find what you need on Baitworks. I mean, Cumberland Pro's on Tackle Warehouse, Omnia Fishing. They're playing big fish. They're everywhere. So check them out. I promise you, they're really well made jig. And thanks again to Isaac for sponsoring the stream. He's been with us for a long time. He's a good dude, really good dude, hard worker, and he makes quality products. So
yes.
Anyway, yeah, Lure Lab Baitworks has some great deals.
So front of the boat, co-angler. Make a jump yet, or
no? See, I'm not scared to jump in the front of the boat.
I know you're not,
but
I think it's time right now.
It's time and money, and this would be a good little short topic to get into. So the front of the boat, your entry fee is twice as much. You're going to be practicing for a couple of days for sure. So there's lodging expenses, there's fuel expenses, there's the actual, you know, having the boat and stuff. And then, and it's the time thing. You have to take off work for multiple days. And I feel like if I'm going to fish out of the front of the boat, yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit, I don't want to say scared, but there's definitely adjustment going from the back of the boat to the front of the boat. But I've been in the back of the boat so many times that I see how it's done. So it won't be weird. It'll be anything for the first time is different and strange and weird a little bit, but it won't be foreign because I've went through the process so many times for multiple years. But the main thing that's holding me back is I'd have to upgrade my boat just slightly because I do have a 20-foot Ranger still, but it's the time and the money. You know, it's the time and the money. It's easier to just go practice for one day and then jump in the boat, and it is what it is. You know, that's a lot of times when I do those co-angler videos, people, you know, they kind of side with me about the boater. Like, he was front ending you. I can't believe he didn't give you, you know, give you that cast, or I would have caught my fish and then I would have went and found you some fish. Yeah, there's that angle, but there's also the angle that he's the one that is paying the big money. He put in the time. Yeah, exactly. It's his boat and I'm just jumping in the boat, you know? And so
yeah, you just can't get into the angler thing with that attitude. You just got to go on with your mindset. Yeah.
So that's a lot of it, but and you know, I don't have an ego like I used to. You know, I'm not trying to prove anything. Fishing as a co-angler, you still get the tournament aspect. You're still bumping elbows. You're hanging out with, you know, like-minded folks, and you're still fishing a tournament. There's still the competition and stuff. And, you know, I don't feel like.
Yeah, you're still fishing against guys in the same situation you're in.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's not. Part of me is like, well, yeah, did you really? Is there a difference in winning on the co-angler side and winning on the boater side? There is, but I think I don't know. It's mainly money and time, I guess. I'll just kind of leave it at that. But I do want to make this stupid All-American.
And I'll add one thing to it because this is how when I was fishing the BFLs with you, like, I think the want and the desire is always to go to the front of the boat, make your decisions and do that, right?
Right.
But look, what boat do you hook up to the most when you go to the lake?
Oh, the John boat.
You hook up to the
boat. Yeah.
It's just because we're comfortable
Merry
in that
Christmas.
boat.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody on here too.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's the boat that you fish out of the most. That's the boat you're most comfortable in. There comes a factor of, I know when I had my Ranger, like, I would take it out and I enjoy taking my Ranger out, but it was always just different. It wasn't the same as being in the front of my John boat. Now, more comfortable, more stable, better platform to fish off of, absolutely. But when you're comfortable and you're used to one thing, and then all of a sudden you just jump in this other boat, it would be like Mike coming down here and saying, "Hey, Gabe, can I take your John boat out for the day over at Cedar?" He's going to have a little bit of uneasiness, uncertainty when he jumps in that John boat. Even if he's in the back of the John boat, he's not going to be as comfortable as he would be in the back of his boat. So
true.
And I think that's a lot of it. And we've talked about this at length on here. We have so many lakes within a short drive for us that we can just dump our John boat in.
I think it depends on. Here's another way of looking at it too, and I just thought about this. It depends on what you're doing in your career. Like if you're really trying to maybe move up, say you're starting in the BFLs and you want to move up to the Toyotas and then the Invitationals, which anybody can fish the Invitationals. You just got to have fished a BFL or something. It was funny. I saw a post where there's a guy that fished out of the back of the boat. He fished 2 Toyota series and he got an invitation to the Invitationals this year because they're struggling. True story. There's co-anglers getting invitations to the Invitationals. They're struggling that bad.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. But if you're trying to go up the ladder, I think being fishing a season or two as a co-angler, and then you want to jump over to the front of the boat. If you're really trying to make a career out of it, there's definitely advantage to it. Somebody like me, I'm not going to fish the Invitational.
I miss the old days where the FLW tour, when you had co-anglers on the FLW tour and you could go and fish. And I think that's the Marshall program now with the elites, right? Like you knew going into that as a co-angler on the FLW tour, you weren't going into that day trying to win that tournament. Yeah, you played your entry fee and you were fishing, but at the end of the day, you knew you're going into that to learn. You were going to try to spend as much time behind a pro that you could to learn something, that either navigation. You had to get something out of every single day, not just going out and trying to catch the 5 biggest ones. That would be the bonus of the day. The object was to learn.
Right.
And I think in the BFLs, I know Gabe and I have talked at length about this, but yeah, you can learn a lot even on a BFL. Like fishing behind locals, fishing behind even non-locals, what to do, what not to do, how to run the lake, things like that. I mean, Kentucky Lake is, in my opinion, a scary lake to run. Like it gets big in a hurry, and there's a lot of areas that you just can't run, and it looks like flat water. It's not Lake of the Ozarks where you can run into every cove, and you got to have a good map. And
speaking of All-American, this guy made the All-American.
Know exactly where you're running.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Part of me has flirted with taking an entire season off and just working on my fishing and my YouTube, my videoing game. And then just don't fish a circuit, just jump into tournaments that fit my schedule, just jackpot here and there where it fits my schedule, whether that be a BFL or Anglers in Action. I do want to fish the Anglers in Action just because they're such great guys and it's such a great organization.
Yeah.
And it's only 3 tournaments now, so it's like, but I don't know if Greg's going to be able to do it because he's thinking about having his shoulder surgery. So
that's what I love about all the little local stuff that we have around here. That
Gary steals me a DQ card too. You know the story on that? Kind of cut you off there, but Gary and his brother both fished the BFLs, and I think it was 2 tournaments back to back. There was one at Kentucky Lake where I think I finished 3rd, and I think Gary won. And then there was another one where his brother bumped me out
of winning.
Yeah, or I was right there. But so back to back, the Hubers like pushed me out, and so they felt sorry for me. And so the rumor was that their mom felt sorry because she'd raised such good fishermen that she was going to give me like a DQ gift card or something. Just
Dairy Queen. I got it.
Sympathy. It was like a sympathy.
I was thinking like
participation award.
Disqualification.
No, Dairy Queen. Yeah, food.
Okay.
Food. Okay. Yeah.
It's like backwards cut ice cream. You got it for not making the cut.
He still got it good. Yeah, awesome. I'm sorry. I totally cut you off. I apologize.
I don't remember what we were talking about. You killed the train of thought.
Yeah,
which is probably fine because we're approaching the 2-hour mark. So
it's not hard to do.
The 2-hour mark, it really starts talking about aliens and paranormal activities. So
No, man, the co-angling deal is I've learned a lot. You know, the last BFL I fished at Kentucky Lake when I drew I can't even remember his name now. He's gonna be on the stream sometime. Anyway, forward facing sonar dude that was killer with that minnow. I got to see him. I got to learn from probably the best teacher that I could ever learn from.
On that
The dude was a Jake Lawrence was his name. The dude was a master at it. Stephanie, I know it sucked for me. It was hard to watch. It was hard to be there at times because I knew my chances of catching a fish were slim.
Yeah, but you chalked that up to a learning experience, right?
Yeah, my mind. You're right. It was, you know, and what was tough about that tournament was I was sitting in 70. I'd fished 2 BFLs, 2 of the 4, but I was still in 75th place, and that was the super tournament, which points were 1.5 times. So if I would have maybe had a top 15 finish, I probably would have made the regional just with 3 tournaments. You know, I already been eligible to make the regional. So I went in. The only reason I jackpotted that tournament was with the intentions of hopefully making the regional, have the option to make a regional. So when I drew Jake, I knew I was going to be around fish. So I was excited. But then once I figured out how good he was at what he was doing, I knew the chances of me were slim. So I had to kind of grin and bear it and chalk it up as a learning experience. And I did. I learned a whole lot. So there's some tournaments that are like that. There's some tournaments where you're going to have access to more fish just by the way the guy's fishing. Like the way you fish, Mike, your fishing is real conducive to the co-angler catching fish because you fish open. You don't have forward facing sonar. You know, you're one of the few people left that doesn't have LiveScope or active target. You know, you're still fishing traditionally. So that's an advantage, but there's some people you get behind that you're going to have a hard time catching fish behind them. But then there's some days where you learn from what not to do too. I've drew people that were totally not doing what I think they should have been doing.
Yeah, you'll draw some people that totally shouldn't be in the front of the boat, but you know.
Oh, I absolutely. But at the end of the day, like I've drawn enough people that don't deserve to be there, but who deserves and who doesn't deserve, that's not for me to decide. Like if you feel like your skills are good enough for that day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. I'm just saying there's guys that get in a little too early.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The scariest part of that is guys that can't drive a boat early on. I don't like being a co-angler with those guys. I don't mind not catching fish, but thinking I'm going to die all day is another story.
Well, Kentucky Lake, Lake of the Ozarks, 2 very, very rough bodies of water. I don't want to be with somebody that doesn't respect the lake.
I've only been with one guy. Well, I'm not saying one guy. One guy pops to mind where I was puckered up the whole time, and it was a couple years ago in the BFL. It was a super tournament, so it was a fall tournament, and we had some serious fog. And the guy he was a boat mechanic. He refurbished boats. He bought salvage boats and fixed them up. And we were fishing out of a boat that he had not ran. He had just got the last piece of the motor put together the night before. I'm not kidding you. He had 0 graphs. He had the gimbal for a 5-inch graph, I think. We had no graphs at all. And we ran in that fog up the Niangua. So we're coming out of PB2, go up the Glaze, the Osage, up the Niangua in the fog. And it was scary. Several times we had to put, you couldn't see, you could literally see. I mean, like,
I don't even know how you do that.
You can maybe see a boat length in front of the boat, but he was a local. He knew the area really good. But there were several times where we had to ease over to see the docks, just to kind of tell where we were at. And then we pull back out. That's the time. That's probably that. And then on the way back, his dashboard, his whole dashboard came off. I think it was. Yeah. And it was September on Lake of the Ozarks is rowdy. It was so rough that his dashboard popped off. So he's holding his dashboard with one hand driving like this.
Not in flat water either, guys. Not in flat water.
and then I think it was a 1 ounce rattle trap, or it might have been a whopper plopper. It might have been the 120 size, or maybe the 180. I'm not sure. I think it was a whopper plopper. It was on braid, and it came back. We're running across the lake, and all hell's broke loose. I mean, you can't stop. There's just too much boat traffic. You'll get swamped. So you got to keep going. And he's pushing it. So he's holding the steering wheel in his dash to keep his dash from falling in his lap. And here comes this whopper plopper. It's skirting down the fiberglass. It jumps over the console and sticks in his arm. So he's pinned, man. I mean, it's like it's
a cluster,
and there's nothing I can really do. He reaches down and rips it out. I think I don't know that it was actually in his skin, but it was definitely caught in his sleeve, and it was restricting his movement. He rips it out, and we make it back to the weigh-in. But so I had the fog thing in the morning, and then I had the dash and the whopper plopper in the evening, and I was ready to that boat. I think I got a check in that tournament, but I earned it. It was fear factor to the next level. So you get that kind of deal every once in a while, but normally most guys that you get been decent boat drivers. I've heard some stories though.
But every time we talk about a story, it always brings up that one, right? Like you start talking, it's like, I haven't had that many, and then there was the one, and you said fog, and I had a guy shut down in the middle of Kentucky Lake after takeoff. We were middle of the pack in a fog bank. I'm like, go somewhere. Like, no, we can't sit here because they're just buzzing.
No. Yeah, you can't sit out there. Anytime I've gotten in the fog, I just pull over and start fishing. I just wait for that stuff to lift.
You know what the crazy part is? I've been on like Egypt in a snowstorm or in heavy fog, and guys will still run that lake like it's nothing. And
yeah,
even
dangerous.
Fishing along the bank, I was scared out of my gourd. So
yeah, at least at Lake of the Ozarks, you can get between some docks, and
if they're gonna hit they got to hit something before they hit you.
Right. Not that it couldn't happen, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Are you going to fish any tournaments this year, JV?
Baseball, I'm going to just say that kills me. I coach travel baseball still, so not that it kills me to not fish tournaments.
No, I went through that for years. I just didn't fish any summertime tournaments.
Yeah, hell, we just started practicing.
Yeah, I was going to say when I was coaching select ball too. We practiced indoors all through the winter. And
the break that I got was like for a month and a half in August. Yay!
Yeah,
really wanted to be on the lake in August. I still went, but this year it looks like we were kind of planning our tournament schedule out the last couple of days, and we're gonna have more breaks. Like last year, it seemed like it was like bada bing, bada boom, and we were done. It was fast and furious from April to June. This year, we're going to stretch it out just a little bit more. So hopefully I get an opportunity, but kind of, I think that's where we were going before Gabe cut me off. Maybe he won't do it again. But like jumping in some jackpotting some tournaments. Yeah. I enjoy doing that. You go fish on a Saturday and you get on them and there's a tournament on Sunday and you just jump in it. Like I love doing that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
Or being overconfident and trying to jump in a tournament with your 8-year-old son and hoping to God that you cut a check and you hadn't been to the lake in 4 weeks. I mean, I've done that too. So
yeah, but you're only out $60.
Yep.
It's a big
and he did, and so memories made, right? Like we talk about the learning experiences. It's also the memories made when your son, you look back and he's like, Dad, I got one. And it's like the 14th time that he said he's got one, and he usually has a big pile of grass. And this time his rod goes across the back deck, and it was like a 4.5 pounder. So it's like, that's pretty cool. He's going to remember that forever, and so will I. So
yeah, that's true. That's really cool. Yeah, that jackpotting thing. I mean, for me personally, if it's at Lake of the Ozarks, I'm not afraid to just show up and go fishing, without practicing. Right. Gabe knows I've said all along, I wish we didn't have practice. I wish they would make a tournament that made it off limits from the Sunday before. So Monday through Thursday or Friday, you couldn't fish. And then you had to just show up and start fishing on Friday.
That'd be fun.
And then make a 3-day tournament. You cut after day 2. So if you weren't on them, you weren't going to get a check. you can hang out with your buddies Saturday night, get a good night's sleep, and drive home in the morning and still be able to do whatever you need to get done.
Stephanie, we love you.
A good night's sleep, my butt.
Nah, well, good for me. It's all relative, right?
What's the weirdest thing you guys have ever caught?
Caught?
Yeah, caught while
I
fishing.
caught a bowling shoe at Lake of the Ozarks. That was pretty weird. Why you would have a bowling shoe on in your boat, I don't know. But size 8.
Size 8?
Was it Lake of the Ozarks?
Yeah, I caught it on a wiggle wart. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
There was a week at Kentucky Lake that if it had entered the lake, we caught it. We were throwing red-eye shads in nothing in the fall and just butchering bass. I mean, it was awesome. But we probably lost between the two of us 25 red-eye shads in a week of fishing.
Dang.
Not kidding.
It's expensive.
It was a miserable trip for red-eye shads, but it would be like you get caught on something, you go over there and it was only 4 or 5 foot deep. So this was before I had an auto Trieve. You're poking around at it, and all of a sudden you pull up like this giant hoop net, or you pull up beach towels, or you pull up paraphernalia from, you don't even want to talk about it on here.
Right.
Probably get canceled.
What about folks at home? We got 50-something people watching. What's the strangest thing that you ever caught while you're fishing? I'm trying to think while we're talking. I was trying to think.
I caught a lawn chair before too, but that's not that uncommn at Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah, in a towel. You catch a towel every now and then, just some kind of like a dish towel or just a hand towel.
I just thought the bowling shoe was odd because who's wearing a bowling shoe on their boat?
It's Lake of the Ozarks. That's a fetish thing. You dress up in a bowling outfit, I think. I did catch something. I got to show this to you.
Hold on. It was probably the same folks of the stuff that we caught that you shouldn't catch in a lake.
Right.
Have that bowling fetish.
Damn, look at this.
My brother was an underwater rescue guy, JB, so they would pick up all kinds of stuff off the bottom when they were practicing. And they had a board of shame, so to speak, in the fire department. And those things you're talking about dominated the stuff.
Oh, I would imagine so. They only float for so long, I'm sure, and then they sink to the bottom and get waterlogged.
Yeah.
And then they get soaked up and they're twice the size they should.
Some of them were battery operated too. So there's that.
I think you guys are talking about plastic worms. Where are you?
Yeah.
They're big plastic worms.
A cell phone. How do you catch a cell phone? I can understand a flower pot.
Caught a Depths 250. That's a hell of a catch.
Yeah, that's nice.
I caught a couple of Brandon Polinick's DT20s.
Yeah.
What's that?
I caught a few of Brandon Polinick's DT20s because I was fishing the same bridge that he was fishing the Elite Series on. I had a tournament there like 2 weeks later, and I went and fished that bridge that he was fishing where he broke a bunch off, and I was dragging a football jig through there, and I ended up catching 2 DT20s off there that he was 99% sure was his that he broke off because he broke several of them off in that tournament. He just didn't want to go down there, and he didn't want to try to get them off and spook the fish.
My buddy Jerry snagged a mega bass, Western Clown, Vision 110, brand spanking new. The guy had just must have made one cast and broke off, but it was.
Yeah, I've caught a few jerk baits at Lake of the Ozarks. Still waiting on my first Alabama rig to catch my first Alabama rig.
Gary, that's.
Catch and it.
Oh, one phone lost 2. I caught
the dry boxes for.
So the other day I caught at Cedar. I caught a rogue, a spoonbill rogue, a really long spoonbill. It had no hooks on it and no split rings.
Well, they rusted off?
I guess they were. It's either that or it either blew out of somebody's boat. Somebody was throwing it without any split rings or hooks on it, or it had been submerged for so long that the hooks and split rings.
I've actually caught jerk baits, multiple jerk baits on jerk baits.
Mm-hmm.
Like twitch. This is before forward facing sonar. Twitch, and it's like, okay, that didn't feel right. And you reel it in, and there's jerk bait on it. It's like with no line. Not like I caught a ball of line from a mat. Like I've done that 2 or 3 times where it's like, what?
Yeah.
How in the world do you catch a jerk? What's the odds? Should have went and played the lottery that day.
Yeah, I think that's what
you think it was suspended, just kind of hanging there?
But how many times can you throw a jerkbait out there and it like perfectly suspends in the water? I hate
when people do that.
One of
throw
them,
a big old wad of fishing line in the lake.
Yeah. One of them was what had like moss on it. So it'd been there for a little bit. Like it wasn't.
Right.
And I mean, same way the hooks were rusted and it had, I still throw that. It was Table Rock shad. So I still throw it today. I have it in my box.
How long do you think it would take for split rings and a hooks to rust? It would have to be 5 years, wouldn't it?
I would say 5 years. I'd say.
Anybody know?
I'd say a couple months, probably.
Couple months?
Yeah. Oh, Mo,
I guess the ring just got to
somewhere in between. I'm thinking more 2 or 3 years.
Sunlight too.
Huh.
The corrosion.
I don't know. I wonder if there's if that's a Googleable, experiment, if somebody's actually done that. I guess it depends on how acidic the water is, maybe too. Like a strip pit, probably a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. But anyway, this Rogue is, I don't know. I don't know how you can date it. To me, I'm like, that thing's got to be old because it came out with no hooks. I'm thinking it's like.
Yeah, but was it what like I've walked the bank enough and found old lures on the bank, and they're usually like swole up or, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
Water has leached into them.
This looks like it's in pretty good shape. I mean, I haven't put hooks on it and tied it on. I just threw it in the boat, but I just thought it was.
You're going to put hooks on it and you're going to throw it.
Yeah, I'm going to try it because there is something to that. Fishing a big bill jerkbait down logs is a technique that not many people talk about.
Hey, I mean, it is like the Ozarks. You cut a bowling shoe. I mean, I'm sure that there's some boats out there that have bowling lanes in them.
Oh, without a doubt. Maybe not at Lake of the Ozarks, but somewhere. I've always wanted to go walk the bank at Table Rock when it's down real low and try to find me some wiggle warts.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
or go snorkeling when it's down in 4 or 5 foot of water and just look on the bottom.
I tell you what, so Dad and I, we were at Cedar. This was I think it was in the spring of the year. And I think it was one of those days where it's rocking out there. And he's like, I got to take a leak. He's like, take me to the bank. Like, I'm not staying on the edge of the boat and risking falling in. It's like, okay. So run him up on the bank and he looks down. He's like, holy cow, it was like a brand new DT6. It's like, okay. I had just got out. Just if he's going to be up in the woods playing around, I got to play around too. So
once in a year,
walk down there. And I found like 3 crankbaits just walking the gravel shoreline. Wow. So, but you wouldn't notice it from 20 yards away as you're casting down the bank.
Right.
All that thing has to do is turn the wrong way and you'll never see it.
Sure. Was the lake low? Is that why they were up there?
Normal. It was the spring, so it was normal.
2 pairs of boots at one time. That would be
2 pairs.
I'm thinking you need like 20-pound test to pull those off. Boots are heavy.
Especially when they're waterlogged.
Yeah, that thing could be like 20 pounds or something. Yeah, Gary, I'm going to be fishing the LBL division again. I might fish some of the Ozarks, and then I may be fishing the Anglers in Action too, team trail, possibly with Mike, depending on Greg. I'm not.
I hope you do.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way, man. I wanted to get a little bit closer before I commit one way or the other, but yeah, I want to hit that All-American, Gary. I want to get in there.
What's for the LBL? Where's their regional or whatever?
I don't even know. Gary, do you know? I haven't even looked that far ahead.
I had a book around here somewhere. See if we can find it.
Yeah, that's true, Tom. It would have to do with the quality of the rings and the hooks.
Pickwick.
It's Pickwick. Man, I don't like Pickwick. I gotta make
divisions are LBL, Mountain, Ozark, and Savannah River.
Okay.
For Pickwick. Yeah, if you do the BFL Ozarks, I may do those versus the solo series. I swore off the BFLs, but
yeah.
If you're doing it, I would do it because it would be fun. And we got a place to stay. So
I mean, I don't like Boyd Duckett. I don't like supporting anything that he stands for personally. Like if there was a I don't know, like when all this MLF stuff happened, I had several people texting me saying, I sure hope you're not fishing the BFLs next year with, what happened with Major League Fishing and the BPT and stuff. Cause they went from 80 to 50, but now they're going back to 65. Like they're downside. It was going to be in 2025. They were dropping.
That's what a politician would do, right?
You're exactly right. He got a bunch of bitching, a bunch of whining, and a bunch of YouTube videos that were unfavorable towards Major League Fishing. So he sided with the anglers. He listened to the anglers, is what he said. So he bumped it back. He kind of split the difference to 65. So it's going to go down to 65. But long story short, I don't really care. They did raise the entry fees to $95. Like the annual membership went from 75 to 95. That right there would stop me. That's what stopped me before when right before Major League Fishing bought out FLW. They kept raising the interest rates, and that's what, or not the interest rates, the tournament entry fee. That's what happens to companies that are struggling. They keep raising stuff. It went like when we first started fishing, it was like $100. And the co-angler side, 165,
50 for the
annual membership. And then it got all the way up to 165.
It went like 105. It went 105 like 2 years later, and then it went 110, and then it was like 20 and 130, and I was out like at 1.
Yeah, it got up to 165, and then they raised the annual membership to like $75, and I'm like, boom, I'm done. And then when Major League Fishing bought it, it went down to $50.
But you also saw the decline of
payouts
of anglers too. Like there wasn't as many anglers fishing when it got.
Yeah,
like
it makes people mad.
Well, so what I will say, like in defense of all those folks that are like, oh, you can't be fishing BFLs. Yeah. BFLs have been around for years. Before they were BFLs, they were Redmonds. Like,
yeah,
that's the local. Name me another tournament circuit that's out there that's a pro on co draw that a co-angler can get into without having any knowledge, anything. You can just sign up. Yeah. You don't have to have anything. Just go and fish these tournaments. I know the weekend series used to be like that, but Bassmasters got rid of that. There's probably a handful of local stuff, but to go and have an opportunity to fish a regional and then fish the All-American, like one of the hardest tournaments to qualify.
You got to pay for a regional now.
I know.
See, that's the things that drive people nuts.
It's gotten worse and worse. But it is the BFLs. So I'm standing on like the fact that it's still
history of it all.
Yeah. Like they haven't gotten rid of the BFLs. They got rid of everything else that was good, but they still have the BFLs.
I don't get the angle. I mean, what do you get for your annual membership other than they get money out of you? I mean, you don't really.
You pay.
I mean, at least Anglers in Action, they give you a tumbler and a hoodie and a hat, kind of thing when you sign up to be a member.
Do you still get a sticker?
I don't think you even get used to get a little lure package. You don't get jack, man.
For signing up for that was your membership.
Yeah. You don't get jack, man. Yeah, Anglers in Action, dude. It's legit. You get a nice hoodie. You get a tumbler.
For signing up?
Yeah, and then if you make the championship, you got it
again.
Yeah. It was nice.
Oak Outdoors was amazing. When you make the championship, man, you got like a hat and a hoodie and a tumbler and probably $50 worth of baits and some bait fuel and
that's right.
20% off of Pro Guide batteries and just a big list of stuff.
Yeah, it sucks. So that's.
But I mean, it's a $400 entry fee too. But I mean,
right.
Yeah, but that's cheap anymore, right? Like, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I hate $10,000 guarantee for first, so that's not a bad, it's not a bad entry fee for that kind of price.
Right.
I haven't watched that. Did you guys see that Bilge with Watson on there? I haven't watched that yet. He was on the Bilge, I think.
I try to watch everything Watson's on. It's entertaining. Yeah.
We need to get him back on the stream. He was on here a long time ago, but he was in the middle of fishing a Toyota series at Grand Lake, and he could only be on for like 20 minutes. But that's definitely somebody that I can reach out to. Because he's with Virtus, and
James will be just fine fishing tournaments around the Ozarks.
Yeah, and he doesn't need it. I mean, he makes his money selling stuff. So
made a pretty good living selling houses or selling real estate.
Somebody says, "What's your favorite?" Oh, Stephanie says, "What's your favorite tournament lake y'all have fished?"
I like Cedar.
Yeah,
it's not a tournament like big national tournament like, but fishing tournaments on a lake. I like that one a lot.
I like Table Rock a lot.
I like Table Rock a lot too. I've only been there once, but I loved Hartwell the time I went and took those kids there for the National High School Championship. I really like that lake.
Is it Neely Henry, Barron River?
Yeah,
Mm,
that was fun too.
Mm-hmm.
I like Neely Henry.
Table Rock's great because you can do a lot of everything. I wish they'd outlaw those damn wake boats though now. That's gotten out of hand there.
Yeah, Gary's a Table Rock fan. Table Rock's cool because you got a lot of options. You really do. You can run all the way up that Kings River when the main lake is 20 foot of visibility. You can run up the Kings River and it's a foot of visibility. It's crazy. It's like just totally different area.
Totally different lake that you're on.
Yeah, totally different lake. It does have a lot of options.
Or you can go go do the same thing up Long Creek. I mean,
yeah, I agree, Stephanie. There's definitely a conflict of interest. With Boyd fishing that.
Oh, does he really fish it? I mean,
I don't know. Just participates.
That's
isn't he Jacob Wheeler's main sponsor, and Jacob fishes it? That seems like a conflict of interest to me.
There's a lot of shady stuff that goes on, but
I mean,
I think there always has been.
You were crappie fishing for, on a lake that you're getting ready to have a tournament on, and you didn't know the rules.
Yeah, I still think. What do you think the over and under is of bass buying major league
It'll
fishing?
be a live golf PGA back to they're going to go back to like an elite 150 or whatever. I think in the next 3 to 5 years you'll see.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You'll see a full merger back to under one umbrella, and Bass is going to purchase it. Bass isn't going away.
No.
Kind of like what Watson said. Don't you guys feel like the MLF, their main goal was to take down bass, not do the right thing for their anglers?
It's always been their agenda was to destroy bass and everything that bass stood for. When FLW and bass always commingled perfectly, and I think there's your new one is your NPFL, right? That's that whole umbrella of MLF, FLW, whatever. That whole conglomerate will be basically purchased, and now bass will have the ultimate feeder system through multiple different trails,
right?
And then you're going to have NPFL slide into the DMs here and take over that void of the FLW.
And they've been good. The management at NPFL has been good about just doing their thing, staying focused on what they're doing. They're not throwing rocks and mingling and sticking.
They're not poking the bear, right?
Right. They're just doing their thing and they're kind of staying out of everybody's way. And that's a legitimate circuit. I mean, that's a valuable option.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the whole Major League Fishing just took a left turn, man, when they were doing originally when you just, the guys went out and all in the same boats and they, you could watch it online for free and, it was showed kind of unedited you could sit there for 7 hours if you wanted, but then they were bouncing back and forth between the 5 fish and every fish counts. And when they start trying things, the heavy hitters and all they're and it was supposed to be no entry fee. That lasted 2 years?
1.
So 1.
Yeah. I like the cups, the original.
Yeah.
That original.
I thought that was cool because I
watched every single one of them.
That was like what we would do, like go to the lake and try to figure it out.
Yeah. You get a 15-minute run around.
Yeah.
Boom. It's secretive. That was fun, man. That was fun.
And they could fish smaller bodies of water because not everybody was out there at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give an unpopular opinion, Daniel T. Do you think it is right for bass elites to jump in MLFs on their off times? The only way that I would say that is if they were paid anglers. When they're not paid anglers, they're 100% contracted and they're making a living for their family. So just like if you wanted to go jackpot a tournament, go jackpot a tournament. That's my opinion on it. They're paying entry fees. Get in these tournaments. They can fish whatever the hell they want to fish as long as it doesn't conflict with a tournament that they have to fish to qualify them for the classic or whatever is the next series.
A lot of those guys too show up at places like Lake of the Ozarks. They might not even touch the top 10.
Right. But if they were contracted by Bass if they were paid anglers by Bass, then I would say, yeah, you can't do that. But Bass does not own the anglers. They are 1099 employees, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's not like they're they're getting $100,000 a year from striking, and they get caught fishing a tournament. Instead of fishing a 6XD, they're fishing the 6 inch cloud or something.
Right.
You know, it's not like they're not getting paid by Major League Fishing, and so they can't fish Bassmaster Elites, you know, a Bassmaster tournament.
Right.
Right.
I think it should be open, whatever.
I enjoy it when they get in some of the tournament. I mean,
but they were trying to be controlled there for a while, wasn't
it? Was the opposite of what Daniel T was saying.
Yeah, if a Major League fisherman fished a Bassmaster, then it was kind of frowned upon.
I know Burge was. I follow Burge quite a bit, and I know there was some bad juju going on there. So,
yeah, I think them even coming to the lower levels, I don't mind. If they show up at a BFL, I don't. I mean,
He's talking about Southern Comfort.
Didn't Jordan Lee win the BFL, like the points last couple years ago?
Might have been. I think you might be right. Yeah.
I mean, so what?
He liked the 5-fish format when they were going to switch back. That was his deciding factor. What, in your opinion, the best circuit for cows to start fishing in?
BFLs.
The BFLs, man, for sure. It's a little pricey. Like, I remember the first time I fished one, I'm like, dang, I'm spending $100-something on a tournament when I could fish a team tournament for 60 or 100. You could split
but you got a little more expensive with your
travel
boat.
Yeah. The BFLs, man, I would definitely jump in those.
Is that American Bass Angler Series still around?
I don't know if the ABA is still out there. That was kind of what Bassmaster's version of the BFL, sort of, I think. Yeah.
That was the
JV. The weekend series was awesome. I loved the weekend series when Bass had that.
I never fished any of those. The ABAs, I think the ABAs are gone. I haven't heard anything about them. They weren't anywhere near the size of the BFLs ever.
No, they tried on Kentucky Lake for a while. But
yeah, they would
be like 40 people.
When we were drawing, 120, 130 boats, they were drawing 40 or 50, 60 boats.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Braz. I would just pick out a circuit that's closest to your house and jump in a season and see what you think about it.
The great thing is,
you don't questions, man, hit me up.
You don't have to practice. Like, you can just go fish.
Yeah, I mean, if you can practice a day, it kind of helps just to kind of get a feel of the water color, the water temp. Maybe you can find a bait or two that you got some confidence in going into the next day. But you don't have to.
I mean, how many times did we leave at like 4 o'clock in the morning and drive straight to Kentucky Lake?
You just go with it, just based off.
No, American Bass Anglers is still going. They've got an Illinois series.
Do they?
Yeah, it looks like most of them are down south, but there's an Illinois. There's a Missouri schedule this year. Lake of the Ozarks, Truman, Table Rock, Stockton, Palmy, Bull Shoals.
Okay. Is it still a pro co format?
That's a team series. Let's see. There's a couple series, a team series, an open series, a professional league, a couples, a military, and so looks like there's several different formats.
Still growing strong.
It's amazing. There's a ton of tournament trails out there. It just depends on the area that you're in too, right? Like BFLs are on the national scale. What we're talking about here with the ABA, like there's not much going on our side of the state. So there was one in Illinois, but you said most of those are in the South, right?
There was a lot of them in the South, but they do have. They do have
team trails.
You go in the South; those are big.
I like that. What is it? The ABTT, Alabama Team Trail.
ABT. And then you got the Texas Team Trail.
Yeah.
There's some big.
Well, even like the Anglers in Action would be similar in this area.
Yeah.
But it draws the best of the best.
Yeah, you're not going to just be some schmuck out there.
No.
I mean, you can, but
no, you're going to get it handed to you. You better be on your A.
Get your feelings hurt real quick.
I was trying to the one I'm looking at is a team series.
Okay.
Illinois is Clinton, Sarah, Shelbyville, Kankakee, The Illinois River, the Morris Pool, and then Glenn Scholes, Lou Yeager. Glenn Scholes and Lou Yeager. That's like Hillsborough and Litchfield. They have a championship. They have a championship that has one day on one lake and one day on the other lake. I kind of like that.
Gary says he thinks ABA does a Kentucky Trail too. I know they used to, Gary, but I haven't. It's been probably 5 years ago since I looked into that. I was kind of going to jump into those in between the BFLs at one time. Mike, I got to get to bed.
Yeah, me too.
I got to get to bed.
I don't have to work the rest of the
I got a full day of. Actually, I got to go into work 30 minutes early because I got to drop my truck off to get an oil change and deliver parcels to all the fine folks at Cape Girardeau.
The Ram, you got to drop the Ram off or the work truck?
Yeah, it's at like 6,500 miles, so it's 1,500 over an oil change. I just haven't been off. Like, right. I mean, when I'm off, I want to go do something else. So,
understood.
But man, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like I was saying earlier, you guys it's impressive how much you've grown since the first time I've been on.
Don't you guys? That's all gay, man.
No, it ain't.
All the big names and
it's all these people watching too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to do it if it's just me and Dave Hall watching, right? So.
Yeah. Merry
the
Christmas.
Word spreads. I mean,
Gary. No stream next week. My sister's going to be in town, and I'm going to be hanging out with her. JB can't make it, so the following week we got John Sukup. How do you say that? Sukup?
I'm not even. We're going to ask him.
Yeah. Anyway, he's going to jump on, and we're going to talk some fishing. We're going to talk.
He had some big changes. Sold the bass tank. He's got all kinds of stuff to talk about.
We're gonna talk about all that stuff.
Awesome. So, that'll be the first of the year.
Yeah, that'll be January 2nd. So that's gonna be our next live stream. So hopefully
you're not people too hungover.
Yeah, right. We'll do it. We'll make it happen. It'll be fun. Hope it's good to see some new faces. Julie.
Well, come out and see me at the Let's Go Fishing Show. The Collinsville, best fishing show in the area.
We'll have to plug that next week or in 2 weeks.
No, it'd be
2 weeks. Be the best time.
That's second. The Let's Go Fishing show in Collinsville, Illinois, is I guess is it the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, or just 5th, 6th, 7th?
I think it's 5th, 6th, 7th.
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I think that's right.
We got to go, man. We got to go to that show. I went last year and it was fun.
It took you like 3.5 hours to get across the floor to the Bluff City thing because everybody kept recognizing you. You texted me when you came in, and remember that? It took you like 3 hours to get across the floor because people kept stopping you and talking to you on the way across the floor. Man.
That was fun. It was fun seeing. It was fun just being able to stop in all, like the Omega booth and the Apex, all the different booths, Crock, Gator, just stopping and meeting all these people.
Well, and how many of these folks that we have on our chat that we see their names and don't have a clue who, like
Andy Leonard. I met him there. There's a couple people that I ran into. It was really cool.
Yeah, we got Crock Gator in Bluff City Outdoors because I was able to mesh Joey and Mark together, and now Bluff City's carrying Crock Gator.
Yeah.
Jewel and Burtis are coming soon. He's got Mega Bass coming in. He's gonna have Mega Bass in his store again. So
it's just fun to see all to put names and faces together.
Yes.
Because we see them in the chat every week, and then like a random will come walk up to you and be like, "Hey, I know you," and you're like, "I don't have a clue who you are, buddy." Sorry.
Yeah. That's funny how that works, right? They see.
I mean,
right. He may doesn't ride the donkey to work every day. He may take the
Eddie. But maybe Eddie does show up to the sports show on a donkey with a sombrero. I mean, that would be impressive.
Yeah. I've had a guy looking at me at the boat ramp before JB, and he's like, I could tell he was trying to do the math in his head, like, I know this guy. And then he was like, "You are the 10 Horse Monty videos?" And I'm like, "Well, that's my buddy Gabe, but yeah, I'm on some of them." And he was like, "Well, if you see him, tell him I said hi, and how's he doing?" I was like, "Well, you can ask him. He's backing me in right now." And the guy like he's met his hero or whatever, it's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's right there in my Toyota truck. You can walk up and say hello."
That's cool, man.
The weirdest one that I had, I work in convenience store, so I was behind the counter at convenience store, and I'm not paranoid, but every time somebody walks in the door, I look. and I stare at them like facial, want to know who's walking in, who's walking out.
Sure.
Well, I made eye contact with a guy, walked in, and he just like, as he walked by, I was like, that was weird. So I went back to work, and he came up to the counter, and same thing. I can feel like somebody burning a hole in the back of my head. I turn around, and he stares at me, and he's walking out the door. He's like, he stops, turns around, walks back to the counter. He's like, are you JB? I'm like, yeah, why? He's like, man, I was just watching you guys last night at the hotel room. I'm from Lake of the Ozarks. This is in Jackson, Missouri. He goes, I'm from Lake of the Ozarks. I was watching you guys on your live stream. And this was when we did it on Monday nights. He's like, I was watching you guys last night and asking questions. And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
He was just passing through Jackson?
He had work over here, I believe. And
okay.
Yeah, just completely random.
Yeah, that's what's cool about this kind of platform and technology. There's definitely some positives in technology. There's some negatives, of course, but it's like this covers the world. You know, Jun Shoji from Japan, he'll pop on here every once in a while. He's over there.
The fact that I'm going to be on Dave Rubin's People of the Internet for the second time tomorrow because of this technology. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Going to be on with Dave Rubin live. And
what time is that?
That's at noon. Live at noon. It'll be then. You can find it on Rumble right after. It's on Rumble to begin with, and then you can go to Rumble and find it afterwards. But yeah, I wasn't nervous to do it the first time until I texted a buddy and said, "Hey, I'm going to be on Dave Rubin." He's like, "Man, you got to be nervous, dude. They got like 2.5 million viewers." I was like, "Well, thanks, fucker. I wasn't nervous till now."
You got your question?
Yeah, I got my question ready. I don't want to give it away tonight, but
yeah.
I'll
check it out. Yeah, I watched the last one. It was good. You did good.
Yeah.
I was the same way the first time I came on here. And
he was hitting on the girl host though.
Oh yeah. Well, how could you not?
Yeah, she's
Isabel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a thing for blonde-haired, blue-eyed, young, conservative women. So
I like that last little bit you threw in there.
Yeah. I got one upstairs. She's just not blonde-haired and blue-eyed. She's just a good German woman from Perryville.
Hard worker.
Had to go south, didn't you?
Hard worker's right. She's been working till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning every night for like 2.5, 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. She's a structural engineer, and they had a guy screw some stuff up, and she's trying to pick up the slack.
That's not one that you want to have somebody screw up in.
No.
No.
Yeah, you don't need buildings falling down.
Leave that to India and some of those other countries.
Right.
All right. We got to go.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me, man. Have a Merry Christmas to both of you. Now, hopefully, I will be in Perryville on Christmas. I could bring the A-rig box and leave it there with Velda if you ever make it up that way.
Yeah, definitely bring the A-rig box. We'll get it at least halfway down. I left my A-rig box.
I'll get it halfway there
together.
And then I'll give you my mother-in-law's phone number, and if you think you're going to be up that way, you can just let her know, and she can set it on the porch or something.
Well, in all seriousness, I call on Perryville and that area.
Do you?
Yeah, if you want to leave it somewhere, and I can
arrange. Yeah, my mother-in-law's porch. She can leave it out on the little table.
There's an oak tree behind the subway there in the town square. You can leave it back behind it.
I just had remnants of what is that? Shawshank.
So watch out for the naked homeless guy.
I got the perfect spot. We'll leave it at Hopi Lane Music Store, and you can just go in and get it from Stan.
There you go. I need to go up
there. Right up on the square. So
I need to drop some stuff off there. So
perfect.
All right, folks. Merry Christmas.
All right, guys.
Everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Happy New Year, guys. We won't see you before.
Happy New Year.
Yep.
No,
Later.
you won't.
See you guys.